City Council meeting for tonight, June 5th, 2019. Before we get started, one just kind of housekeeping. There is a computer out there for everyone to type their names into so we can kind of have the roll of who is here. If you have not already done that, when you leave, will you make sure that you type your name in so that it can go in the minutes? It will make Renan very happy. And that is a good thing where she's going to have to type all of this tonight. So with that, we will move to an invocation that will be done by Councilman Cousins tonight. And then our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilwoman Hartley.
Our Father in heaven, as we gather this evening in the City Council meeting, we're extremely grateful for many blessings, for the favorable circumstances we find ourselves in. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve our community, and we're grateful for those who have shown up to express interest in our local government. Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunities we have to govern ourselves in this manner. We pray that thy Spirit will be with us this evening. We're so very thankful for our many blessings. We're thankful for the moisture we received this year and for the goodness this brings to our land, for crops and other needs. We're grateful for the freedoms we enjoy, and pray that thou continue to bless us with those things we stand in need of. We express appreciation for our city staff and those first responders who keep us safe, and pray that thou would watch over and protect them in all that they do. Once again, we express our gratitude unto thee, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Stand and join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will now move on to our agenda order approval. Are there items the council would like changed from the 3 published agendas?
Mayor, I would like to, this is more a question, and it's on item number 15, where we're asked to consider various conceptual plans and estimates for the development of the Aquatic Center property. To my understanding, I've received no information on this other than the conceptual plans, but no financial information whatsoever. So I'm not sure what our role is here tonight in addressing that situation.
So staff received some information yesterday afternoon. Shipped it up to Kit to ask him to review it this morning. We've had some questions. We've been calling and emailing back and forth with the architect for some of the numbers we have questions on. As long as we're still not firm in what we're presenting, that's why we haven't passed the information to the council. We've had a couple different emails with a couple different variations on the numbers come through. So I don't want to bring a lot of confusion. I just wanted to bring the finished product to you guys and say, here's what we have. So that's why we haven't passed it on yet. I know Dallin did his homework, and at 4 or something this afternoon, he sent it out to everybody.
So just to address that, Dallin called me before just about an hour ago, and he agreed that the summary page was a little bit confusing, but the numbers in the spreadsheets were accurate. So he did his own summary page, and he would like to still speak on that matter tonight. He did email us not long ago with some numbers, but I know it didn't give us a lot of time, but he would still like to address it and visit about it.
I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the financial stuff being reviewed in a public meeting that we didn't even know existed until 5 minutes ago. I don't know.
Dallin here.
I'm not opposed to the project. I'm not opposed to us moving forward and discussing it, but I'm not sure it's appropriate for Dallin to present numbers that we don't know are correct yet. I don't know. What do you guys feel?
Well, I guess my bigger question is,
know.
if they're presented tonight in this work session, are we expected then to vote on it next week? Because we need some time all of us need time to review this. I think all of us are in favor of moving forward with the ice rink. I think we're moving in favor of the gymnasiums because we expressed that at our earlier meeting approximately a month or so ago. But I don't want to vote on it until I know what the heck we're voting on.
Yeah, we're not trying to withhold any information. We just don't have information.
All the
without
more reason
tons
I'm
of without questions.
Well, the the spreadsheets are accurate. This just the summary page was confusing. So he's the numbers. So he's prepared to address that tonight and at least bring us up to speed. And I don't know where he is.
I mean, if my fellow council members want to move ahead on it, but I want to make it clearly understood that we're not under an obligation to naturally move it on to the action meeting next week if we still have questions after
I'm good
the
with that.
presentation tonight.
And that's,
The council can table any matter to a later date when you'd want to address it further.
So we could address it tonight, and then if we're not comfortable, we could table the action agenda item next week.
Okay, well
that's
then,
fine.
with that concession, then I would make a motion to approve the agenda as outlined.
Agendas, plural. There has
Excuse
to
me,
be three.
agendas, you're so right. We're here for the long haul. Anybody
Okay.
bring lunch or dinner would be great.
So, and we have a second by Councilman Isom. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will now move on to council business. Is there anything?
I have some, but I was waiting for somebody else to speak.
Just go for it. Please don't wait and hold things up.
Yeah, there you go. First of all, I would like to just publicly acknowledge, and I don't know who the new owners are of the top spot there on 600 South there in Maine, but I gratefully acknowledge the fact that at least they cleaned up the weeds and the rubbish and stuff, and it looks like something's moving forward. So I wanted to acknowledge that because, as you know, I've mentioned on more than one occasion how bad that corner looked in our city. And then secondly, I'd also like to publicly thank our Parks and Rec department for the wonderful job with the cemetery over Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what others have heard, but I heard very positive comments from people. The rain certainly helped all of that, but it also hindered our ability to get in there and get it cleaned. But it looked very beautiful, and I want to thank them because it's a big job. So thank you.
Are there others? All right. The one other one we need to bring up, and I should have done this earlier, is Councilman Adams is excused for this evening. He's out of town,
Oh,
and so he will not be joining us. And so we will now move on to staff comments with our update from Todd, who's, yes.
serious, Todd.
go Todd, look at that.
Bye. I like it.
He is literally my
Yeah.
favorite.
Council, Mayor, tomorrow we will be having our
You still have
first.
to say your name though.
Oh, Todd Hegeman. I am the event
Thanks.
director for Cedar City. And this is my beautiful 1947 Roadmaster with working horn.
Cool.
So tomorrow we're having our first slow roll. Slow roll, basically what we're doing is we are closing down roads around the university for everybody to grab a bike. One thing that we all have in common here is we've all been on a bike before. And so we are closing the road to be able to just enjoy our neighbors, meet new ones, reconnect with old ones, and just enjoy a beautiful Cedar City summer, just leisurely rolling around our city streets. Thanks to Cedar City PD and SUU, we've got a complete closure of those roads between 6:30 and 7:30 tomorrow. So we're going to be meeting at 6 o'clock in front of the SUU police station. We'll be rolling at 6:30. We'll have a DJ out there. We'll be giving out Otter Pops, and half of the road will be dedicated for walkers and strollers and runners. And then the other half will be for our bikes. As you can see, this is a slow roll. It's not a fast roll. So we are just going to, this is all talking pace. Meet your neighbors, talk to each other, and let's just have a good time. We are going to have 3 of these this summer. The first one's tomorrow. Next one is going to be on July the 11th, and then on August the 8th. And follow the signs. We'll have signs put up tomorrow pointing to the parking lot. We may be adjusting the locations throughout the summer, but we'll make sure that everyone is well aware. So I thank you, and I look forward to seeing everybody out there at the slow roll tomorrow.
It's great. Can we win the bicycle if we do well?
You got to fight me for that one.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. Figured we'd lighten things up this evening. Are there any other staff comments? No? Okay, then we'll move to our public agenda with public comments with the Utah Summer Games. Let's say they can make their way.
We're here. In the back, yeah. Horn in hand.
Oh, wow.
Hey, thanks.
Should have brought a
Brigham.
launcher. That'd have been fun.
Hey, thank you.
Did you bring them for everybody?
Thanks, dude.
You know what? Everybody
You.
can sign up for the summer games and you all get one.
Thank you.
This is a really good night to promote the Summer Games.
That's why you were here. To hear about summer games.
Yeah, there you go.
My name's Pace Clark. I'm the executive director of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. Mayor, city officials, city councilmen, thank you for letting us come here today. Before we get into statistics and dates and fun activities that are going to be happening, we want to tell you thank you for your support, and especially all of the different departments who help us, the Parks and Rec, the facility workers. Todd, he's been great. We've been working with him. Ken Nelson, we've been working with the whole crew, and they've been very supportive, and we appreciate that. The summer games, things are good. Things are really good. We are having record numbers in several events this year. One example, wrestling. We moved our wrestling dates back into the wrestling season. We went from 72 wrestlers last year to 338 this year. So
Good job.
positives. Thank you. Thank you. High school basketball is this weekend. We have record teams coming for high school basketball, 75 high school teams. We will play 205 games in 2 days. So good things. Several of other of our team events are up. Individual events are looking good. We don't know until the dust settles, but we're thinking that we're going to hit 10,000 athletes this year, which has been a goal of ours. It was a 5-year goal, but we're getting it in 2. So yeah, we're excited.
Oh, good job, Pace.
Important dates, opening ceremonies. This is one to mark in your calendars. The Summer Games opening ceremonies have been on Thursday historically now for 33 years. It's on Friday this year. Okay.
Heresy.
There are a lot of reasons why. Biggest reasons, we've had a lot of feedback from sport parents who come the weekend of opening ceremonies and say, hey, we would come if it was on Friday. We all have to work Friday morning. So these parents from Salt Lake, from St. George, they're not traveling to Cedar City on Thursday, but they will travel here on Friday. Depending on how this year goes, if our ticket sales are up for opening ceremonies, then we know it was a really good choice. If not, and they go down, then we might move it back to Thursday. So we're just trying something new. We've talked with a lot of so KSL is one of our big news sponsors. They were really excited that it was moving to Friday because of the amount of TV coverage they get on Friday nights is higher than Thursday. And so they thought that the exposure there would be really good for us.
This is a week from.
This is a week from this Friday. Yep. So this will be June 14th.
Okay.
We will have the block party on June 14th that will start at 3:30 p.m. on the corner of 800 West and 200 South. It's just on the corner by the America First Event Center. That will end at 7:30, and then we will go over to opening ceremonies that will start at 8:30 p.m. The band that we were able to contract this year was the Plain White Tees. Do you know the song Hey There, Delilah? Yeah, that's it. They're coming. Yeah, buy your tickets.
You answered one of my questions. I didn't have any idea who the Plain White Tees were, but now I know.
You know that song? I can sing it.
He knows. No, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Breaking the song.
You might not come to the concert if I ruin the song. Other questions?
Council have other questions?
Good job.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing afterwards how things kind of all turned out.
Okay, we will come and report.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pace.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Hi, thanks, bye.
And who are you?
All right, now we'll turn the time over for public comments related to items not on the agenda. So if there are any comments, not agenda items. No? Okay, then we'll get right into the agenda. With our business agenda public portion, item number 1, consider a local consent for a single event alcohol permit for the Utah Farm and Food Conference to be held February 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2020. I was going to say, good luck making your way up here tonight.
Cimbria Patterson, organizer of the conference, if you remember last year. So this is a twofold question. It's not in the policy to allow I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, but I need permission from you to be able to do it at the Heritage Center. And then if you approve of that, then we need a local consent for the DABC. And I know the Heritage Center is here if you have any questions how the event went last year. And it'll again be on the same night, the same format, except one of our sponsors requested that we not just have beer, but beer and wine. So I asked Renan, and she said that was just an old form. I didn't want to deal with it last year, but she said it was just an old form that said beer, that it really, I think it now says alcohol on it. So do you guys have any questions?
How did the event go last year?
You were there.
I know I was, but these other people weren't.
It's raucous. No, it was very quiet. I thought it was great. It was well attended. It was a January event. It brought some life to Cedar during a time that's normally pretty quiet. It looked good. Heritage Center was great to work with. So,
Right.
almost
Jason,
300
Chief?
people. So, questions?
Not for you. Maybe Jason wants to
We'll let them
respond.
go through their spiel, but don't go far.
Jason Clark, manager of the Heritage Theater Festival Hall. Last year's event was a fabulous event. We were very glad to have them. Hopefully in the coming years, we'll build up the number of participants. As for the issue at hand, the alcohol was no problem. Cimbria and her associated staff did everything as per the letter and required. I do ask that we don't change the procedure because our staff is simply not capable of policing the alcohol. So we would like this process to continue where you make the exception and then approve the single-use permit. We look very much forward to having the conference back in February. Any questions?
Chief, do you have anything to add? Mayor and Council, Chief Adams with the Police Department. Background looks good, like it did last year. No changes. Positive recommendation.
Just a clarification. What do you mean by changing procedure? The single event permit, is that what you're referring to?
No, Ms. Patterson referenced it. It is in the city ordinance that we don't permit alcohol in the use of the facility for public functions, only for private functions and only those where no minors are present. That's an actual ordinance that the council passed. And so what she's asking for is an exemption for that and then to approve the single use permit. And we would like that policy maintained because then it makes the clients do all the appropriate paperwork and do due diligence. And that takes the burden off of my staff and it gets the police department involved early.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Anything? Okay, are there any other comments, questions? Good with that going on the consent?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. All right, item number 2, consider a resolution designating the city's Lay Hill water tank as a monument to bear Cedar High School's colors and Redmond symbol.
Mayor, I'd like to read this in its entirety if I can.
Do you have a copy that we can put in the minutes?
Yeah.
Oh,
I give it to Ron.
perfect.
So
Just the
I
resolution.
appreciate
Oh, perfect.
Tyler, our city attorney, helping me put this together. He did a great job, I think. And it's been tweaked a little bit since we started. Just a couple of concerns that some folks brought up that I thought were valid, and we implemented those. But I'll just read this. Whereas since the early 1940s, Cedar High School has used the Redmond name as a symbol of pride to represent its school, community, and Cedar City's Native American heritage. And whereas, as a means of inspiring community and school pride, Cedar City has allowed representatives from Cedar High School to paint its Lay Hill water tank with the colors and symbol of the Cedar High Redmond. Whereas the city's Lay Hill water tank has borne the colors and Redmond symbol of Cedar High School since the early 1970s. And whereas on February 5th, 2019, the school board of the Iron County School District voted to retire the Redmond symbol of Cedar High School. And whereas, as a way to preserve and highlight the city's historic school, community, and Native American heritage, and in an effort to educate the public about city history, the city desires to preserve the Lay Hill water tank as a monument to the city and all the people of the city and state of Utah, to bear the colors and Redmond symbol of Cedar High School. And whereas the funds needed to maintain the aesthetic elements of the Lay Hill water tank will be obtained from donations and not taxpayer money. And whereas the city held a public meeting, which was duly published and held before Cedar City Council on this day, 5th of June, 2019, and after receiving all public input, if any, and duly debating and considering the proposed resolution, the Cedar City Council find that it is in the best interest of the health, safety, welfare, and economy of Cedar City to preserve the Lay Hill water tank as a monument reserved to bear the colors and Redmond symbol of Cedar High School. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of Cedar City, Iron County, State of Utah, that for the reasons specified therein, the city's Lay Hill water tank located on top of Lay Hill shall from this day forth be designated as a monument to the city and all people of the city and state of Utah to bear the colors and Redmond symbol of Cedar High School. Furthermore, the funds needed to maintain the aesthetic elements of the Lay Hill water tank will be ordained or obtained from donations and not taxpayer money. So that's the resolution.
I have a few comments. My typical approach is to listen to all of the sides and then make a decision. But prior to hearing the public comments tonight, I'd like to make a few comments and kind of give you a little, lay a little groundwork, some of the thoughts and observations that I've had over the past week. As the water tank is a city structure, it falls within the city's jurisdiction to determine what is on the water tank. What we are not here to debate tonight is the merits of keeping or changing the Redmond mascot or to take sides for or against the Iron County School District. That is not in our authority or sphere of influence. I would request all that choose to speak, please limit and direct your comments with relevance to retaining artwork on the public utility. My thoughts for consideration at this moment: I support keeping the Redmond mascot on the water tank along with refreshing and revitalizing the paint. I would also support adding an inscription including the years that the mascot represented Cedar High. Why do I support this? It is because to many in our good city, the Redmond mascot is something very special. It memorializes a time that was significant in our lives. It's a source of honor and pride to many, as well as an important tie to our past, which is rich in tradition and the highest of ideals. Redmond pride is high in my own family. My father played football under the Redmond mascot. My brother and all my children played high school sports as Redmond. Without revealing my age, I would have also participated, but I preceded Title IX sports in the schools, so they didn't have women's sports back then. My husband taught math at Canyon View. We could not even sit in the Falcon sections because during any local rivalry games, he knew I would stand and sing the Redmond school song every time. As we have all witnessed, our community became and still is extremely divided over this issue. A mascot that is cherished and beloved by many was taken from our school, and in a very short period of time. During the change process and after, many supporters of keeping the mascot have not felt heard or their opinion valued. No matter where you fall in your personal feelings on the mascot, the reality is our city has endured a tremendous amount of painful attacks from both sides on this issue, along with extreme contention and divisiveness. It's been hurtful to see this occur even between lifelong friends and neighbors. Keeping the mascot on the water tank is one way to help bridge this painful divide. It is an olive branch in a good faith effort to honor and value the voices that cherish this symbol. It's a significant way to help heal our community and city. I would also like to see the community come together and create a real mascot for or a real monument for the retired mascot. I've met with a representative from the school district. They're willing to work with the citizens and the local Paiute tribe to create something permanent to honor the history of the tribe and the mascot, which would be appropriate whether the mascot is restored through the legal process or not. It could be a source of education about our rich heritage and past that supporters of the mascots are calling for. As your elected leader, I would like to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. I want to see our community heal and come together. Some leaders in our community have sought to divide. I'm asking that we rise above that. I'm making a public plea for the hateful rhetoric, social media attacks to come to an end. Whether the mascot is restored or not, the healing needs to begin. I would like to be a part of that. One issue that needs to be resolved in the coming week is how the maintenance and repainting will be managed. In the past, Cedar High provided the labor and materials for the mascot. I understand the city has sometimes kicked in for some paint, but I assume the school district will not do this going forward. It is currently desperately in need of a new paint job. I do not support the use of taxpayer funds to maintain this in the future. I would hope an individual or group in the community would come forward in the next week and take on that responsibility. I also do not support the idea for it to become a legal historical monument or marker, which could come with unintended consequences. This is a functioning public utility. We cannot afford to jeopardize the city's ability to maintain and or replace this critical water source. So those are just my thoughts over the week, and invite anybody to
Can I get a
else
copy
that
of
wants
that?
to comment.
Thank you
You
for
knew
that.
that part was coming too.
Yep.
Thank
You'll
you
have
very
your
much for that.
opportunity. You'll have your opportunity.
Yeah, as soon as we get through the council, then we'll get to, I'll explain the whole comment public process. Oh, sorry, as I hit that into the microphone.
Yeah, I would echo most all of that. Simply saying that our history and our legacy is something to be cherished. But the lack of civility in dealing with each other is absolutely unacceptable in a community like ours. So I hope that we can reach a conclusion that is fair and even balanced. But I appreciate Terry's comments. Thank you very much.
I think I have a few comments to make as well. Mine aren't nearly as eloquent as Councilwoman Hartley's, but I do have notes here that I want to refer to because it was important enough to me that I didn't forget things as we move forward. And it's clear by looking out at the audience tonight that this community is divided, and it's divided not in a healthy manner. It's unfortunate that we have to be here tonight to discuss this because there are so many other pressing issues that we are trying to deal with as your elected officials. But we are here, and we're here to try and heal. And some of this is a bit of a repeat of what Councilman Hartley stated, but I had it written out ahead of time. As you all know, this is a city-owned water tank, and it was built in that location to help disperse water to homeowners in that part of the city. It was never planned or built or anything other than that to provide the needed service, such as water and sewer lines, street lights, everything else the city does. It didn't become part of Cedar City's story until about 1970s when it was approached by students and members of the CHS faculty and staff that it helped promote pride and place the mascot and the school name on the water tower. The other thing that I think that we're walking in very careful ground here is we have a duly elected governing body for the schools of our Iron County. And whether you like the decision or don't like the decision, they are the body that governs the schools. We should not be stepping on those toes as another elected governing body and overriding their decisions. I worry a great deal about what the future is for the children and the grandchildren that'll be attending Cedar High School in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 15 years. There's been a great deal of discussion, and I went to all 3 of the public meetings held at the schools in the winter about this issue. I've seen it on social media, I've seen it in the newspapers, and I've talked to a lot of people. And there's pride and their heritage with the Redmond name. But what do those future children have? What is going to be their heritage? What's going to be their pride they have? To my knowledge, the schools are still working on a brand and a logo design. So nothing's been definitely decided on what it's going to look like and what that brand shall be. I know there's been names chosen. I know that they have decided on things, but nothing's been presented. No formal request has come to this city to make any changes in the water tower or to paint over it. I suspect that will come in time, but it hasn't yet. So I'm wondering if we're getting the cart before the horse. The other thing that I'm concerned about is about the maintenance of this facility. You've all been by it. You've all driven by it. You all point to it with pride. It's a piece of land that has a lot of juniper trees, has some cell phone towers on it. It has some poles on it, some utility poles, and it's a water tank. Now, I don't dispute the fact that it displays pride for the high school. But I'm maybe wondering if the city shouldn't ban these kind of advertisements altogether on all of its water tanks. Perhaps we should paint them all a nice color to blend with our landscape. Or perhaps we should advertise our own leisure services, our aquatic center, our golf course, our lake on the hills, our baseball fields. I'm not saying that that will be done, but these are things to be considered. I'm deeply concerned about the future children, and I want harmony to come to this community. And so I'm waiting to hear from you. But I have a hard time seeing how this resolution is going to solve the disharmony in our community. That's where I am right now.
I've got a couple follow-up comments. Terry, I like the idea of putting the dates on the tank. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that'd be very appropriate. I would hope that this body would respect my resolution that Tyler helped me draft, that it stays there. It means a lot to a lot of people that has been there for over 50, at least 50 years in that location. In regards to the maintenance, I'll personally take the responsibility to raise the funds to maintain that water tank if I have to pay for it myself.
For 50 years, for
Yep.
25 years?
I'll create an endowment, whatever it takes. Okay. And I think there's enough people in this community that'll support it. I've already had many businesses call me willing to donate thousands of dollars to do this. That was the historical thing, Councilwoman Hartley, that you brought up. That's one reason we removed that and called it a monument instead of a historical site, because of those same concerns. And I thought that was a good point. I'm really worried about our country and the direction we're headed with this political correctness movement. I've talked to a lot of Native Americans on this topic. We've got a presidential candidate that's running for president of the United States that wants to remove all reference to Thomas Jefferson because he owned slaves a long time ago. Okay. There's a school that wants to get rid of their name, George Washington. I think it's a high school. They've got murals on the walls. They want to paint over them because this is the father of our country. They want to erase that history. We're losing our history one school at a time in this country. And I'm worried about our kids too. I'm worried about not teaching our kids that we don't roll over for this nonsense, and that we make a stand, because if we don't make a stand, it's just going to continue down this slippery slope. And I would like to request that we have an up or down vote on this resolution. I think that it means a lot to a lot of people. that we honor this, and I don't like to call it a mascot. I think it's a symbol that's been displayed on that tank for 50 years. And that we honor the history and we leave it where it's at. And I think putting the dates would be very appropriate. And we need people in this town. This is a tradition and a history that we've had for over 70 years in this community. And it means a lot to a lot of people, including the indigenous folks that live here as well. One of the troubling articles I just read was a school in California that's getting rid of their Prospector Pete mascot because it represents the gold rush, and they're worried that maybe the gold rush was really difficult on the indigenous folks, and so removing that. Guys, if we keep going down this road, we might as well just give every school a zip code so we don't offend anybody. So that's where I'm at. So.
Are there any other comments from council at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, so this is how the next part works. First, tonight is a work meeting, so no votes, no action will take place until next week. So if you wanted to vote, it won't happen until next week. Second, the way we do public comments is we do like 45 minutes worth of comments. I don't cut you off if you want to keep talking, but just know that your friends and neighbors will also want to make comments. So out of respect, we ask you to keep your comments as brief as possible. If we get to attacks, name calling, swearing, any of that, I will cut you off because this is a public meeting. There are children. It is broadcast, and that's not acceptable for this forum. But the other thing, if you don't say your name, I'll cut you off and have you state your name because we have to have that for the record. And as Tom Jett, I do it every time he gets ready to speak. So make sure you state your name, and then we'll do 45 minutes worth of public comments. And so you can just line up behind each other, but do try to keep them as brief and as on topic out of respect for everyone in the room so that everybody can be heard. So with that, and the other thing, if you're reading any typed remarks, that was what I was going to get at.
Yeah.
You will make Renan very, very happy if any of typed comments you'll give to us so that she does not have to type them and we can just attach them to the minutes. So with that, go ahead.
My name is Joyce Darantino, and this is an open letter to the Cedar City Council on the Cedar High Water Tower. I went to the first meeting at Cedar High School with the board's committee to look into the mascot last fall. I naively thought that the entire city would be ready to move on from a mascot with racist overtones. The issue was originally brought up by a Native student, as it has been in the past, and I watched a thorough and fact-based presentation on the research and reasoning of the committee. I listened to two Native women explain the history of the word red men being a reference to a practice of scalping natives for bounty. They were in tears, and so was I. I literally thought that would be the final argument on the subject because the issue seemed so obvious to me. Immediately following, a teenage girl got up and said, I'm quoting the best that I can remember what she said. It's close. I'm sorry you were hurt by that experience, but I'm not sorry because I will always be a red man. I was shocked at the applause and the cheering that followed by many of the people at the meeting. I concede that many believed and still believe that it's a sign of respect and that people are feeling that the memories of their high school experience will be altered with an alteration of the mascot name. However, the pride is in the school and the students, not the mascot itself. It is a representation of those students, or should be. I don't believe that we as a community can continue to pretend that there is an issue with the name, or that there isn't an issue with the name that likely shouldn't have been chosen to begin with, but for whatever reason was. This is not a new issue. Many know that the National Council of American Indians has been trying to get rid of these types of mascots for over 50 years. Some here refuse to understand the real meaning of the word red men and how it is a part of institutional racism, which racism, meaning expressed in social political institutions, which manifests itself in disparities in the law, social and legal, concerning those who are not representing the majority culture or race. Even if some will not concede this, many in town do understand the issue. Many of us have been embarrassed by the willful ignorance, the threats to the school board members, actually running at least one of them out of town, an unfair attacks on their character, all because they didn't agree. In every single conversation I've been a part of or read, invariably, pro-red men have had no argument other than emotion or tradition. They have continuously called people names and dismissed any conversation that has any other opinion but theirs. There have been no facts at all. I understand that where one is emotionally attached to something, it is hard to self-reflect and admit that what they thought was something was right might not have been. No one wants to hear or feel that they have done anything racist, but not meaning to do it doesn't change the fact that it is. We know better now, so we can do better. Tradition is good, but it cannot define everything, as we learned from Tevia's digging in his heels in Fiddler on the Roof. We cannot base everything on the fact that it was tradition. That does not automatically equate to the right thing. People who visit this town see many of the wonderful activities and people here, but they also see it as bigoted and a racist town. I used to think that wasn't true, but the longer I'm here, the more I see why it's viewed that way, and it makes me sad. The open hostility of those who are willing to bully anyone not in their group in the last year has made me, for the first time, embarrassed to live here. I don't believe it is a symptom of our times that we can threaten and berate others, to forego real discourse, and to try to silence others when the others are based on race, culture, religion, or anything else. I've been told if I don't like it, leave. That everyone who disagrees probably is from California anyway, and therefore they don't belong or have a say. They just don't get it. Besides the fact that if people live in Cedar City, their opinion does matter. I know many people who went to Cedar High and whose family's been here for generations who understand why the mascot is wrong. Cedar has been my home for much of my life. I got my BA at SUU, my daughter was born here, and is of pioneer stock that settled this area. I argue that those who are so tied to the mascot are the ones not getting it simply because their emotions are getting in the way. We've all struggled with this at times. It is hard to separate emotion and fact. I speak out because I know a lot of people feel the same as I do, but are afraid and or tired of being attacked verbally and physically. That should never even be an issue in this town. I've been told that because I teach in higher education, that proves I don't know what I'm talking about. That is a new trend apparently, but it's a doublethink. It makes no sense. I'm in the field of humanities, which is what makes us human, our culture, our history, our beliefs, and how we interact with one another. This is what I care about and have spent many years studying. So I do know a bit about what I'm saying. This is a town and culture founded on education, formal or not. Ignoring facts undermines that. I've been called out for trying to be a white savior. I have worried about my role for that reason. And if I've overstepped my bounds, I apologize to Native Americans who are capable of speaking and do speak for themselves. And I understand that not everyone who has the same opinion, if they happen to be Native American, I get that everybody has individual feelings about this. For me, this is more about my duty as a member of the community. It would be much easier to not speak up. I would be sleeping better and have less heartburn if I could just ignore it. But Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you've chosen the side of the oppressor, and I'm not willing to remain neutral. Keeping the water tower as a monument to the mascot will not bring this town together, but it will make it seem more intolerant and backwards than others already see it. I think we can do better than this.
Okay, I would ask one thing. As people speak, we might have different opinions. This won't count against your time, don't worry. As people speak, we're going to have different opinions. I would ask to please not kind of verbalize those as individuals are speaking, partly because it will make it so the recording doesn't pick up as well. But also, we want this to be an area where everyone is comfortable and feels respected enough to be able to voice their side. So please, if you do disagree, I know it's hard, but just kind of don't keep that inside unless you want to get in line and then actually verbalize that to the council so that we can have a clean recording of the meeting as well. All right, now you get to go.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Nelson, and I appreciate Mr. Cousins, and I appreciate the comments from the other council people today. I particularly really enjoyed listening to your thoughtful and well-versed descriptions of your opinions, and I appreciate and I agree with most everything you said. I'd like to take my title from these of my remarks from an article that appeared last month. It's called E Pluribus Unum and Native Identity Created America's Soul. So why the attacks? In March, a CNN reporter accused President of the United States of using the Clemson Tigers as a prop and part of their identity appropriation. And the same argument was made again as part of the president's Medal of Freedom ceremony, saying he wanted to attach himself to Tiger Woods. However, she also called Woods a sellout when he didn't attend President Clinton's Jackie Robinson's 50th anniversary. Yet social scientists, and this is where I disagree with the previous speaker, social scientists such as Robert Putnam and Abraham Maslow counter the sports correspondence assessment, suggesting that the process of sharing identity as a group or individual builds unity, solidarity, and social reciprocity. Psychologists have determined that this type of bonding reduces prejudices and social anxiety between the races. 230 years ago, the Medal of Freedom's predecessor saw an early recipient named Red Jacket and George Washington attaching themselves to each other in one of the nation's first bonding ceremonies that carried on for more than 100 years and helped cement our nation's foundational identity as Native American-centric. In fact, E Pluribus Unum from many one appeared on Indian peace medals a full 3 years before being inscribed on U.S. coins. It was these presidential Indian peace medals which set the stage in not only providing the basis of America's foundational identity, but also in providing thousands of Native-themed schools and, in fact, nearly half of the state names. There has been no evidence that a name causes all of these social problems. There's been no evidence that changing the names that has been done previously since the 80s and 90s helped any Native American students psychologically, educationally, or socially, or economically. However, in schools which have retained or reinstated the Native American names, the unity and performance and coalescence in those schools are better than ever. That's the facts. That it's better to keep the Native American century in your community and in your schools. It's better for everybody. That's the facts that have been proven. The NAIA organization is a Native American organization that wants to eradicate the white people. Let's talk about racists. They prefer in their documents, they want every person of European heritage to go back to Europe. That's what they say, and that's who she quoted. Watch out for the Answer Coalition signs. They are provided by a communist organization.
Okay, we can't remember this. We can't attack each other.
Oh, I'm just saying these signs
Okay, but we
themselves.
can't attack each other.
Okay, just be careful of that organization. Anyway, tomorrow is June 6th, anniversary of D-Day. The Allies had lost a lot of ground, but they won. And that's what we stand for. We may have lost a lot of ground because we were blindsided, those who wanted to keep the name. And we're going to gain it back. And we're going to gain unity in this community. I feel really bad of the division. But I also reject the idea that division was caused by those who wanted to keep the name, just because we disagreed. I don't think that was a fair assessment of those who wanted, there are many times they were blamed. Well, just let them do it. Well, then you win. Then they win. They win, and the process was flawed from the beginning. And that's what we disagree with, is the process. And I thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Excuse my voice. I'm Tania Henry. And I'm a little emotional about this. Thank you, Councilman Cousins. Thank you, all of you, for being here today and letting us speak our voice, because we haven't been able to do that yet. Some may think that we are emotionally connected to the school because we went there. And while that's true for some of us are emotionally connected because it's who we are. It's who we're born as, and it's who we're striving to be. I am worried about the younger generation. I want them to grow up and be proud. I don't want them swept under the rug like so many before us. They need to grow up and know that it's okay to be Native American. Because sometimes when these issues come up, it makes you feel like it's not okay. Like you're somehow in the wrong because you were born this way. I graduated from Cedar High, and I loved every second of it. I had a great high school experience, and I know that's not the same for everybody. It wasn't because of our symbol. It wasn't because of our colors. It was because every single person that went to that school knew what the name meant. And they honored it. They were proud of it. And they still to this day feel that way. I want our younger generation to know we need to teach them that it's okay. We need to teach them these things that we say, when she said that, oh, you didn't mean to be racist. Well, we need to teach these kids. That is one flaw that has happened is none of these kids, anybody who's graduated through there, hasn't been educated. We need to educate, not eradicate. We need to let them know what we are about. And I thank you for bringing this issue up because it's a big issue. And like I said, I haven't personally felt heard in this situation. Yes, they had open forums, but as a coach at Cedar High, it's been coming for a long time. This wasn't brand new news. This has been happening for 4 years. We've been told to take the ribbon off our jerseys for years. And slowly by slowly, they've been sweeping Native Americans under the rug with this. So I just want to thank you guys for our time and let you know how important this water tower is to us. Because it lets us know that there's somebody out there who remembers us, who still thinks that we're important. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. Love that young lady. My name's Cheryl Stratton, so you can't kick me out.
I was going to say, if you start with "ow," it's going to.
I appreciate being able to talk, and yeah, we get a little emotional, especially when we're told that we're ignorant. Moving to Cedar City in 1975 and driving down 600 South to my first day of school at CHS, I noticed the image of the Native American chief on the water tank on Lay Hill. At that moment, I didn't realize how the symbol, coupled with my experiences at CHS Redmond campus, would open doors of learning about the Native American culture and history of our area. My family moved to Cedar City from Southern California. And my knowledge of the Native American was trivial at best. Until my experiences at Cedar High, Native Americans were characters in old westerns and friends of pilgrims. What I gained through the proud symbol of our high school and the many friendships of Native American friends from different tribes at CHS, who were all proud and still this day are proud to be Redmen, led to a deeper knowledge and respect. This spark grew through the years, gaining more knowledge through reading books and several trips to the Four Corners area, learning about the history of the tribes from members, which I have shared with others. A few years ago, my husband and I planned a vacation. Instead of an international trip or a cruise, we chose a 2-week excursion to the Four Corners area. We spent a weekend in Canyon de Chelly, where we hired a Navajo guide who interpreted the stories of the petroglyphs and the petrographs of both celebration and horror. We had great conversation with him and with many people we visited through both the Canyon and Monument Valley. While on the reservation lands of we spent our hard-earned money on beautiful native handmade pottery, goods, Hopi and Navajo turquoise and silver jewelry, all from Native American stamped artists. If it had not been for the influence of CHS Redmond symbol, which sparked my need for gaining knowledge of the history of the Native American tribes, my experience would still be in a trivial state of limited knowledge. National PC and decolonization groups want to refer to the CHS Redmond as cultural appropriation, which is a negative label meant to divide. I preference the usage of the Redmond symbol as a cultural appreciation, which overall has a positive influence for all people beyond high school. Every day after the first time that the Redmond water tank greeted me, it has grown in importance. Save and protect the Redmond water tank on Lay Hill. It's part of our past, present, and will be our future.
My name is Tamara Henderson. I will get emotional, so just be prepared. The Redmond water tank is a part of Cedar City, as has been said. It has been a lengthy, extended piece of time. It's part of our heritage. It's been up there for decades. I cannot imagine driving around Cedar with my kids or my grandkids and not driving by that water tank and knowing the pride that I took when I graduated from Cedar High and what that Redmond tank and the Redmond name meant to me. I came from 4 generations of Redmen. My dad graduated in 51. My brother graduated in 70. I graduated in 71. I have grandchildren that have graduated. I had a granddaughter that graduated this year under the Cedar High Redmond name. I have cousins, nieces, and nephews, and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I hope many more great-grandchildren will graduate under that wonderful name as the Cedar City Redmen. If my dad was here, he would be fighting you tooth and toenail. You that know my dad was Gary Davis. He was on the school board for 8 years, and he would have never let this pass in the first place. My dad believed in standing up for what he believed in, and he's instilled that in me. I have to stand up for the things I believe in, which is the Cedar Redmond name, saving that water tank, which means so much to us. Maybe not to some, but more than the majority of Cedar City wants that Redmond tank left alone. I can't say enough. I hope when you county commissioner, or you city commissioner, the city council, go into your vote, that you will really consider what the Redmond name means to the majority of the people. More than 80% of the people in Cedar want to keep it. And I hope you will remember that. I hope and I pray that your agenda will be on the heritage of what we are so proud of. Mr. Phillips, I want to just address something to you that when you were making your statement, you made me feel that you didn't really believe in anything. And I hope that's not true, because I know you and you know me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you believe in things.
I do.
But I felt like that your statement about belief really was very negative in so many aspects. And I just needed to point that out to you. I hope you appreciate my comment and not take it as being rude.
No, I don't take it that way at all.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I love the Redmond name. I hope we can surpass this and save the Redmond tank, because it means so much to so many. And I thank you.
Really quick before, just as an update, we have about 25 minutes left of comments. So I'm just trying to say that so that we can keep things brief so that all of our friends and neighbors can still be heard.
I'll be
Okay.
quick.
Yeah, you're good.
My name's Tony Cosilia. I actually wasn't planning on speaking until a couple of things came up. First, I want to thank all of you even no matter where you stand on it, I want to thank you for listening to us and taking the time. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your speeches, and I appreciate your opinions. That it means a lot to us as citizens of this county. I want to ask, I want to talk to Mr. Phillips, though, about the same thing where he was talking about the tank not necessarily standing for anything or being anything. Well, it has been there through the 70s. And so it is a landmark, sir. Like a Route 66 sign is a landmark, or a Shakespeare sign of some sort. These things do have meaning, and they have meaning to people. And so don't just discredit it as just some painting. To a lot of us, it is artwork. To a lot of us, it represents a culture, and it represents a heritage. My son is Native American. He goes to Cedar High. He's a freshman. He plays football there. He is proud to be a Redman. He goes out on that field and he fights as a warrior and a Redman for that school, and he would die on that field as a Redman for them. He's proud of who he is. And for someone to say that because he has that belief that he's ignorant or racist is an insult to me and an insult to my child. I won't stand for that. Someone wants to come up here and say that we're racist and then call us ignorant. That's the pot calling the kettle black. I have some facts. If you want to sit down with me some night and you want to talk, you say that we don't have any facts, I'll give you my number. We can talk civilly, face to face. I will go with facts. As a matter of fact, here's one for you right now. A linguist expert from the Smithsonian Institute for the Not Your Mascot opposition both agreed that the Bloody Scalp story is a spoof. That was under U.S. federal trademark hearing in 2014. There's a fact for you, ma'am.
We have to stay civil.
That was civil.
That was, yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't appreciate being called ignorant because of
know.
my views. That being said, I will just ask one question. I actually want to know, Miss Mayor, you're from Cedar City. What does that water tank mean to you?
I drive by it every day. I know it needs a fresh coat of paint, so help us all, because it is.
Would you like that fresh coat of paint to be the Redmond emblem?
I think that we can have a great way to honor the past and present of well, it's not present, but the Cedar High. We can do the Redmond tank, or we can come together. I had talked with Terry about this and have a really nice monument somewhere that gives the history. I think that the tank, we can do that. It also thinks that we can take it a step further and do a history so that people understand why we have this, and we can use it more to educate, as you spoke of, and use this as a learning opportunity and a way to bring our community together. So even a plaque up by there, I think would be a really good step forward on the education aspect of the Cedar High and why because you're going to have people that are wondering why it's there with a new school mascot. And so the education portion, I think, is really good and beneficial for the residents and for future generations.
It's there because this is Native country, and it's to symbol and honor them.
I know this. I grew up here.
I know.
Like,
That's
I
why.
was born and raised here. I'm well aware of that. But as far as education goes, when we talk about just getting rid of something, I think it's a very good way that we can move forward and work together and use this as an educational tool.
So you're in favor of painting it a different symbol?
No, I didn't say that. I said work together and come up with a history. I mean, but have it written down so it actually explains the history of our community. We know this, but we want future generations to also know this.
You are eating into other people's time. I just
Yeah.
want to remind you.
I'm sorry.
all.
Thank you.
My name is Harold Haney, and I'm not necessarily here to discuss Redmond or not.
I take issue with the fact that my experience in leadership says that we have an opportunity from time to time as we serve to have good and open discussion. And when we do, those things allow us to explain and decide where we stand on certain issues. But once a decision has been made, unless everyone involved in that decision rallies around that, then it undermines the system. I'm well aware of the fact that there's one on the school board now that is undermining everything that the school district is trying to do as far as the school board and as far as the administration. To me, the problem is that in doing this, it allows the city to, in my opinion, interfere with the school board and the school district. As a district, they have never, and everybody knows I was there for 8 years. I don't see any benefit to the city trying to, in my opinion, create greater divide and undermine the system even more by introducing this type of an idea. I think that it has something to do.
Okay, remember how we're not gonna say things from the,
Did you have the floor right now?
hey, Harold. Harold,
Hey,
if, remember, okay, stay civil.
So
There you go.
the point is that I think that there is a situation where by doing this, we're actually undermining those individuals who are trying diligently to help this school district, which has been a fantastic, powerful school district for years and years and years, to not succeed.
Hi, I'm Sam Cook. I am a alumni of Cedar High School and a current student of history at SUU. And I wanted to discuss briefly just really what history is, especially regarding things like monuments. The fact of the matter is people don't learn history from statues or monuments in public places. They learn them in school. They learn it in museums. What monuments act as is value judgments on the past. And what the people who are currently living, what they value regarding their history. And so making this water tank a mascot or a monument, excuse me, will show to future people, okay, this is what we valued. This now symbol of great division, that's just the fact. I'm sorry, however you feel about it. That's what it's become at this point. When it comes to all right, I'm sorry you feel that way, but the fact is this has been a question for the last since the 90s at least. So, you know, it's nothing new. And the fact that people who have lived here, even just for a year, their opinion does in fact matter. Doesn't matter where they're from. And in fact, again, looking back at the history, it is a classic authoritarian tactic to tell people who are not native, whatever that means, who feel differently from you know, the native people of a city or place, in the sense that, you know, people whose families have been here for a long time, saying you feel differently from us, then go somewhere else. That's the history, and that's sort of these tactics are coming out again, and I hate to see it, because sure, I wasn't born here, but I don't have to be. And I don't think anybody who feels that the mascot should be, you know, whether it should be remembered in this way or not, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, we all pay our taxes. We all live here. A whole bunch of people who pay property taxes don't care for the mascot, and their opinions matter just as much as every other taxpayer. So by saying that somebody who's moved here and has now bought a house and they're not happy with the mascot, wants to change it, they don't belong here, reflects extremely poorly upon the population of this city. And designating this a monument will reflect, I think, extremely poorly upon us currently, right now, to people 100 years down the road, just on the basis that monuments are shown to be what is valued. When everyone in this room is dead and gone, the feelings that everyone has towards the mascot will be irrelevant. What will matter is the way that institutions have treated the mascot, whether it be retiring it or by memorializing it or creating a monument of some kind, especially out of a city utility that is in active use. That reflects upon us and upon Cedar City as a whole. And I love this town, for everything that's gone on. Cedar City is my home. And because Cedar City is my home, just as people before me have said they want to stand up and argue for what they believe in, all of us who are arguing the opposite can do the same and should do the same. And so I would ask this council, and specifically to Councilman Phillips, your comment on how our children or how the children of this generation will feel about creating a monument, again, out of a public utility that is in frank disrepair. It shows sort of a general lack of really caring about it until all of the sudden, oh no, it's going away. I thank you for your comment, because that's really how I'm feeling, again, as a student of history. When you look at monuments, it tells the people of the future looking at those monuments of what they valued. So that's all I would have to say. Thank you very much for being here.
We have 15 minutes left.
My name is Christopher Quick. I've lived in Cedar for about 3 years now, and I've recently become disgruntled about this whole idea of political correctness, like Paul had said earlier, and I want to do something about it. The mascot change and everything, it kind of relit that in me, that I have a letter from a person named Tracy Dusnip Page. She was a proud Redmond grad in 1979. I'll get this to you after. Many of the things that she said in this letter are what I would have told you tonight, so we'll just go with this here. This is Tracy Dusnip Page. I'm from Cedar City, a proud Cedar Redmond, Cedar High School, and SUU graduate. My mother, Dr. Elizabeth P. Dusnip, taught at Cedar High for many years, and I know some of you. I am the owner of Nashville Chocolate and Nut Company in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm part Navajo and have served on board the Native American Association of Tennessee. Never once in the many years that I've involved on that board or been involved in our national annual powwows have we ever had an issue of bullying with any schools in Tennessee, even though some of the high school mascot names in the state are Redskins or Choctaws. I was astounded and greatly dismayed that the Iron County School Board and Miss Delaney chose to, without any proven factual or hard documented evidence, chose to erase the Redmond heritage from Cedar High School and its Native American population of Cedar City, not to mention all the high school alumni in one fell swoop. I'm writing to you about the Redmond water tower. Native American rights are something I know a great deal about. The charitable mission for my business is Native American scholarships and cultural educational programs. This movement, started by the misguided, in my opinion, members of the Iron County School Board and Miss Delaney, is actually a form of racial discrimination against Native Americans. They are, in effect, stripping the Native American heritage of southern Utah and its past and present Native American population. In their efforts of diversification, they are actually whitening an already predominantly white region and denying the Native American heritage of southern Utah and its residents. They took what could have been an opportunity for the education and enlightenment of students of Native American history and culture and completely blew it. After all, a white man is described as a white man, a black man described as a black man. How is this offensive or any different? The term Redmond is certainly not being used as slang or negativity anywhere but in their minds. I've spoken with the United Southern and Eastern Tribes headquartered here in Nashville, and I'm contacting the Native American Rights Fund in Boulder, Colorado. I strongly encourage you to vote to keep the Redmond Tower as a landmark and proud monument to the Native American heritage of southern Utah and Cedar City and its Native American residents. The Cedar High School Redmond mascot debate continues, but please don't make it worse by furthering this racial eradication of the Native American heritage of southern Utah. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Signed, Tracy Page. just a few extra thoughts of mine. Councilman Cozzens said that he wasn't sure where he was going to find help or the funds to help with the water tank. I'll step in. I'll help. I'll be there. You know, I don't have much, but I'll do what I can. So I appreciate your time.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Renee Pete. I'm an enrolled member of the Paiute tribe, Cedar Band of Paiutes. I'm glad to be here tonight. I just want you all to know that I'm a proud grandmother of several grandchildren that graduated from Cedar High School. One is here tonight, and he played football for the team and was very happy to do that. And also my coaches here, and she is a Lady Red, and she did really good this past year. But please, I'd like you to keep the water tower. I left school here. I left my hometown here, and I became a Kearns High Cougar, and I went to BYU as a Cougar. And then I now hear that somebody killed a cougar here on the road. But anyway, but I'm proud that I have family members that graduated from Cedar High, and we're very proud Redmen. But as far as the water tower goes, I urge you to keep it because it is our history. And not only that, I would encourage you, when I go through town, I see all these monuments of men. Sometimes they scare me, but at night. But I would like to request that you guys put a Native man as one of those monuments in town. If you don't want the water tower, I would encourage you to do that, put a monument of a Native man there, and maybe even a Native woman, because that would represent us as Native Americans. We have that monument that's in front of the Cedar Library, City Library, and we need more than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Marilee Ham, and I'm born and raised here. And I just wanted to say that from the beginning, I'm a member of the Cedar Band of Paiutes, also the tribe here. And I just want people to understand and know that where the tribe stands with this has not been officially voted on. They didn't bring it to their people to see which side they were on or how to come within the community. Our chair came as herself and as her own opinion, which didn't represent a lot of our people. And so that's why we had to get up and speak, because we're speaking for ourselves and for our kids and for our families and for our culture and what makes this something that we're proud of. I've gone to Cedar
Can I
High.
ask a question? And I promise this will not take your time.
Okay.
So there is no official position one way or another from the tribe?
Yes, there's none.
Okay.
They haven't asked us.
Okay. Because that was one thing that I was going to ask at some point, is if the tribe has actually at this point taken an official position one way or another, and you have not.
Our chair right now she speaks solely on herself.
Okay.
Her own opinion.
That's fine. Thank you so much for that clarification.
And
I broke it.
Like, we understand what some natives think of why it's bad and why, I could understand that just because of our history of what had happened to our people. But going forward, we're in a new century. We need to be out there showing the positive of our people, not, I don't support the hashtag not your mascot, because the people that I have seen gone into and who make comments, to me, I feel like they're racist. They don't want the white people here. And I'm just like, we're all here. I mean, what can you do? we, we got to get along. And I feel like within even our own tribe, we're a lot divided too within our families. And so it's just kind of, I would like for the community to be more involved. And when they had the 10-point system brought to the Iron County Board of letting our tribe be involved more, having someone on the board and having that education be inserted in. And with the school board saying no, that just kind of broke my heart, because that was the part where we could have been a more welcoming within our whole community. And the people that don't want it, that's fine. I understand, because there's a lot of things that I don't like that have nothing to do with Redmond, but I don't feel like I should have to push that on to somebody else, like, don't like this because I don't feel it's right, kind of thing. So I understand both sides, but this is where I stand for being here for my son. We've never been called a Redman or Redskin, like, we've never been treated that way. And I feel bad for the people who have. If they have, I would really love to see the record of that. And I have not been shown proof that that's happened to people. And if that did happen, then they should have took the next steps. The Iron County Board their police report should have been filed. The right avenue should have been gone to, and it wasn't. So all the stories we hear, I just feel like they're just stories until there's evidence of that. So with the water tank, I hope it's something awesome. We have the Buffalo Nickels that have the Redmond image on there. I was in Salt Lake, and we have light posts that had actual, like, this symbol on the post, like, just embedded coming out. And I'm like, wow, if somebody's seen this who is against, what are they going to do? Hashtag not my light post. I just don't understand. But we have it everywhere. And I'm proud every time I see it. I'm just like, yes, that's us. We're warriors. We're strong. We're here, and we're not going anywhere. And that's where, leave that up there. Every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, like, hell yeah. But I'm very involved in my tribe. I'm involved in a lot of our cultural ways. My son is also, and we're not just Native just to say we're Native, and that offends me. Like, no, we're positive. We do positive things within our tribe. And anybody that knows us and knows and sees us there, because they're there too, will know. And that's all I need to say.
My name is Tony DiDonato, and I don't really feel comfortable with iconoclasm or the government's removal or destruction of elements of culture of a city or images that are important to large groups of people. But also in that same vein, I feel that it is a little bit problematic, some of the things we choose to value and hold up that represent communities. I don't usually work much in politics, and I don't think most people do, so I don't know how much the whole political correctness thing applies, but I do think that there is great importance in recognizing the people that you might be alienating or offending with certain things, and how important it is to be courteous and respectful as an American. Those are things that I value personally. And while I'm not sure that the maintenance or the removal of these images should be in the city's hands, I hope that one day the people of the city will really reconsider perhaps the image chosen. I don't think the name is cultural appropriation, because I feel like the term Red Man is an outsider term and not a term of that people. I feel that the icon is cultural appropriation. Whether you feel positively or negatively about cultural appropriation, I feel like it seems obviously to be so. And well, that's how I feel. And one thing I want everyone to always remember is to be careful when people try and hang a slippery slope over your head. Slippery slope is a nickname for a fallacy. It's a type of argument that doesn't have logical backing, and its motivator is fear. Thank you.
My name is Dan Huntsman, and I'll just take a quick 30 seconds just to identify maybe some concerns that brought up by Councilman Phillips, and to reiterate the support from Councilman Cousins. As a small business owner and professional in this community, we are more than willing to be financially committed to maintain this water tank. And I'm sure there's many in this room right now that are more than willing to do it. It shouldn't be something that the city needs to be financially responsible for. Us as citizens of this community that support this are more than willing to take that obligation on. So I hope that would be something that is considered.
Hi, my name is Noah Denhalter. I'm a student at Cedar High School, and I thought I should come share my opinion because, well, I wrote something down, but you know, I've had my entire family, all my siblings go to Cedar High School, and I've been to so many events. It's like I couldn't even count. I understand the love of the Redmen, and I could also understand the change, though. But I don't want to talk about that. I was a part of the committee of helping but helping suggest the new mascots. I wasn't a part of the Reds. I was a part of the symbolism of the animal that we chose. And I knew being a part of that committee that it was going to be so hard to bring our school back together anyways. And I think that there's this water tower that was made, but it wasn't made for the students, but then the students made it their own with the Redmen. But now that we're changing, I think that since it was made for the students, it should still be for the students. So I think that even though we haven't gotten an official logo for our school or in anything even close to that so far, because it's the summer, we decided when school ended that we would be the Wolves, but we would not be called that. But I think that we should have that on instead, and maybe we can still pay respect to something that was such a big part of our history, and history changes, and we have to pay attention to that. But
Okay,
Hey,
everybody,
Be respectful, please.
And we are out of time. So if you want to finish up your remarks, I'll give you just like 30 more seconds because you've been waiting in line too. And then we'll be done with comments for now and go back to the council.
I would just like to wrap up and say that I just think as a student and knowing so hard as a student leader, because I'm also I was the freshman student body president, and now I'm the sophomore student body president for next year. I know that it will become a problem for the students. And I think the students are a part of a group that hasn't been heard either. I think a lot of the open forums, I think it was terrifying to talk against adults who are really passionate for this. And I understand, but I also understand how another side can be passionate and how students should be too, when it's our future, almost more than the community members, which we also are. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Okay. You are last set of public comments.
Yeah, I'll make it really
You're
short.
fine.
So my name is Famke Halma. I was probably one of the last ones to graduate as a Redman. I graduated in 2018, December 2018, a graduate semester early. And I'll make this short so that everybody we can go back to the meeting. But whether or not this water tank is going to be changed, it will not change the history that we have in our town because we all love it so much. We love Cedar High. That's why we're all here. But we have to remember that even though we're divided right now, it shouldn't, because the history is still going to stay, and that will not change, as you all passionately responded to Noah when he said that history can change. And I think that it's important to maybe invite students to stuff like this, because as you saw, these are all older people who have either gone to Cedar High or have lived here their entire lives, but we're not getting the input from the students. We only got one student, and I think we need more of that, because eventually we have to realize that these are not the people who are going to go to Cedar High right now next year in the fall. There's a whole other group in our community that is going to, and we need to recognize and respect that too. Thank you. I'm sorry, what?
I think we need to give this
we're
young
not
lady
going to-
respect.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No,
Don't
we're
scare them out. Gosh.
okay.
Come
yeah,
on, these are
that's-
young people brave enough
we
to
still
come
have
in
to
here.
respect all opinions. And when the school board's decision was not that young lady's view, and so please respect the students that have come before us tonight, just like we're trying to respect each other, because this was not that young lady or Noah's. They did not bring that up, and so we owe them as much respect as we are wanting for each other and for the different sides. And I would like to thank our young people for coming and being part of this forum and part of the process.
Thank you all. And I'd just like to thank everyone who participated,
Yes,
because
this
this is
is-
part of what democracy is about.
This has been a very, this has been a very productive and a very good, there were a couple times we gotcha, but for the most part, thank you very much for the respectful nature in which we were able to have these conversations. There is a lot of emotion on both sides, and I do appreciate everyone being able to voice their opinion, but still show some respect so that we can remain a community and remain neighbors. And at the end of the day, we are still a community that thrives and supports and loves each other and loves the high school and wants it to continue to be a successful place to educate our children for generations to come. So thank you all for the passion and for being here and for being part of the process. And
Mayor.
that's the most important, is that you're part of this process tonight and part of our government in action. So now I'll turn it to Councilman Cousins.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give a little backstory on the water tank. From what I've heard is in the 70s, that used to be, there's a lot of graffiti and different things painted on that tank. And I think the school kids in that era came, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I heard it, that they came to the city and asked if they could paint the school colors and emblem on their symbol. And since then, they didn't have a drop of trouble. And so I think that means a lot. I would like to request, I thought Councilwoman Hartley's idea, I think that if we were to paint the dates of when did Cedar Redmond start? Was it 1940? 40, whatever the date is.
42, I think.
Paint from 1942 to 2018, 19. And paint those dates, and that would denote that that's a historical edifice for the era, for those dates. And I think that would clear up any confusion. And so I would just like to ask that we add that to the resolution, Tyler. And I would like to see us have an up or down vote on that.
Where it's a resolution, we have to do roll call.
Right.
Yeah.
But a vote.
I mean, that's what I'm meaning is
But-
the roll call vote. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I just don't want to confuse
right.
everybody.
But I would like to, and my wish is to keep the water tank. I think there's a lot of meaning to that site, the way it is. And that's how I'd like to see us vote on it. And I will not vote for something different. That's where I stand.
That's one other thing. I know, and I can't actually see back there, but the lady that spoke about wanting the statue on Main Street, just so you know how, yes, the way that the Main Street statues are financed, this is just big picture, they are privately funded. So the city doesn't pay for those. They've been privately funded to do them. That's part of, just so I like to make sure people are all aware of how things work. But if we want to go down that path of privately funding something like that, we can work with the city to kind of go through how it works and all of that. But I did want to let people know that those aren't taxpayer funded. They are privately, they work through private donations. And that was more a point of clarification and to make sure that people knew kind of how that process worked as well.
But it's a great idea.
Okay.
One more thought
Yes.
that I forgot to mention. I think that I really believe in my heart that if we do that, it could bring the community together. I think if you destroy that, I think you're going to have further divide in this community. That's really how I feel.
Council members have any other comments, questions on this item? No matter what, it's going to be on our action agenda next week. Is yours kind of a clarification?
It's a question, just one quick. When you say we'll vote on it next week, when will we know what the vote is?
It will happen at this meeting, and it will
It'll be
just
live.
I mean, the meetings, so the way it works, our meetings are either you can be here or they're live streamed, as long as everything's working with the cameras. Occasionally it doesn't, but that's not intentionally. But we'll go like roll call right then. So we go through a consent agenda, then we have an action agenda and go item by item, and that's how the process works. So it will be sometime after 5:30 next Wednesday. Yes. In the same room, same time, same place. Okay.
And it's not secret ballot.
No, it's public. Yeah. Okay. Were there any other comments or questions from the council? No. Okay. Is it a question on process?
It's not about the mascot. I just wanted to remind everyone this weekend is the powwow. Okay? So,
Yes. So thank you all so much for coming. Again, we'll have the vote next week, but thank you for coming and being part of the process. And you are all free, if you want to stay for our meeting, to stay for our meeting. And if you don't, then we'll give you a second to leave. Oh,
Thank you.
if
And I
any of you read remarks, can I please get a copy of what you read? Again, if you did read anything, please get me a copy.
You're welcome. Thank you for being interested. We love people to be involved. I just want
I'm good, buddy. How you
8 to
doing?
quit.
Look, mine is.
Thank you for your participation.
That's fine. I just don't want the students to feel, the poor kids to know they're not a.
I know. I've known her since she's a baby, so. Sure. Thanks for coming and being involved.
Okay. All right. We are going to continue on with our meeting.
No, I agree. No, I agree with you on that.
Yes. Okay. Item number 3.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
for your
Okay.
time.
Item number 3,
Yes.
consider appeal of a decision to deny a claim.
I love the hashtag not my street poster.
And this will be with Jude and Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm glad that most people left. Anybody that would still like to leave,
Still
it's
have
not
to
too
say
late.
your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm David W. Benson, or Dude Benson. I appreciate this opportunity to be here tonight. Although my item isn't going to be near as fun, it's important to me. I have some handouts for anybody that wants one. Madam Mayor, can I approach?
Absolutely.
I really want to thank you and thank the city staff and the council.
Thank you, sir.
Will you wait for 2 seconds to get back by the microphone?
But I'm just filling time while I'm passing.
Okay. Thanks, dude.
Tyler.
All right.
Everything done.
Pronounce most important.
Let me say a couple of things. One is I really appreciate the way this meeting and this last issue was conducted. I think that's critical for people to be heard, but also have some boundaries, some guidelines. So great job. I also want to say thanks to Kit Wareham. If we're making statues, I think we ought to make one of him at some point. And I mean that because of his work with conserving water and all that water that went out to Quichpa for all those years. And I really think that's a game changer for Cedar City. So without further ado, I've said my name. So my family came here in 1851 on the Chatterley side. And I remember my great-grandfather Little and my grandfather a lot complain about subsidence in Cedar. And so I know that's part of the drill here. It's something that I'm very familiar with, soils, soil types, etc. I worked for one thing I didn't share with Tyler, and frankly, I think a lot of the issue that Tyler and I have had, not that we've had a problem, but we just haven't communicated very well, and I think that's my fault, frankly. This kind of happened backwards, but I worked for Mel Clark, a general engineering contractor, for 5 years. Does a great job, and he's done work all over Nevada and Utah and Arizona, so I'm familiar with subsidence and with ground settling and compaction rates and all that stuff. I didn't come here to gripe or be negative. I try to be a positive person. I'm solution oriented, and it's not my intent to call anyone out or prove anyone wrong. It's not my intent to offend anyone. I just want to share my paradigm on a matter that is of great importance to me. So I want to tell you a little story. That's kind of how I roll. When I first got married a few years ago, like 33, I was with my father-in-law and his brother, and they were in their 50s at the time, which I thought was ancient. That's how old I am now. And we were in Murray, Utah, and we drove up to Blackfoot, Idaho, and back in a little Toyota Celica, if you guys remember those little cars, little two-door. And I was in the back seat the whole time. It was a long time. One of them owned a 63 Corvette, and the other one owned a 67 Mustang. And early in the ride, they started talking about this car, but I realized as an objective observer that they were not talking about the same car. One of them was talking about his Corvette, and the other was talking about the Mustang, but neither one of them knew they weren't talking about the same car. And they were talking about paint schemes not being original and original VIN numbers and modifications to the engine. And I listened to all this, and I tried to say, listen, guys, you're not talking about the same car. My attempts were in vain, and I heard all about their cars all the way up and all the way back. They never got on the same page. And I think that's what kind of Tyler and I have done. We just didn't communicate very well, and I'll own that. I think it was kind of my fault. We were kind of meta communicating. The key is the word negligence. And I think I got this wrong, because to me, negligence says that somebody knew or should have known or did something that they knew would result in. And I had to look it up to see that it's not the word. The word is that carelessness or just it didn't happen the way that somebody planned. And so I told Tyler that I didn't think the city was negligent. And I still have a hard time with that word. If the city if a good city employee hits ice and kind of slides through a red light and hits somebody, I mean, I guess technically they're negligent, but the reality is it's you know, there were factors beyond their control. It was more of an accident. And I think that's kind of how we never got on the same page, is that I thought negligence was too hard of a standard, too high. I didn't want to blame anybody for this or say that anybody did purposefully anything wrong. So the main reason I'm here today is because we're not done with this yet. This little area that is in question is still in need of some attention and repair. This is in front of my house, 353 South, 300 West, date of claim 2/28/2019. So I called the city on a water leak right in front of my house in November of 2017. I got that wrong too, Tyler, because I was thinking it was the previous year. It was more than that, but not by much. There was a water leak out in front of my house, and so I called the city crew, and they came over and did their thing, and they do a great job. And within a few days, the water was back on. And I thought, well, that's the end of that. Well, we started having problems with our sewer immediately. Never had a problem before in 30 years. And now all of a sudden we were having a sewer snake every couple of weeks, and it just wasn't draining. And I never thought anything about it. So on February 28th, I messed around with the sewer snake for a couple of days. Finally got a hold of a guy with the camera. He came, looked at it, and said, "Look, your problem is out by the sidewalk. The sewer line's kind of kinked." So I called some plumbers, called a friend with some equipment, called a contractor, and we started working on it. And just went to work. I didn't think anything had anything to do with the city. It was actually a city employee that saw us digging in the street. Fortunately, I did have my permit to break the street surface, but it was actually a city employee that stopped and said, "Days, what are you doing, and how far do you think you're going to come into the street?" And by then we had the asphalt uncovered, and it was a city employee that said, "Man, that's backfill that the city uses. That's clear back up under your lawn, even into and beyond the sidewalk. You should really contact the city and file a claim on that." Now, the truth is, I had no idea that was even a thing, that you could even do that. I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, this looks to me like this sunk where they dug up this sewer line." In fact, he said that square thing right there is a patch. That's where their water line was. So I called the city guys, and Alan Davis, I had to call somebody to get his first name because it's Pup. He came over, was really good for Pup, if you know what I mean. And he also looked at the flow sand. Robbie, what do you call it? It's not sand. Flowable fill. It's kind of a sandy material. And he looked at it and said, "Man, why is it clear back into the sidewalk?" And I said, I have no idea. He said, "Well, we patched this, but I don't know why it would be clear back under the sidewalk." And I said, I know that's, yeah. So we looked at it, and he said, "Well, dig it out better, and I'll come and see it. And I'll have some answers for you." So we dug it out better. That night, it got dark, and Pop didn't show the next morning. Turns out he was called in sick. First time he's done it in 40 years. Of course, it happens on a time that it behooves me for him to be there, but he was very sick. And so I called Robbie Mitchell, and I'm not sure if you came over and saw it, Robbie, or not, before we covered it back up. So let's go to the photos. Photo number one. I'm sorry, I thought about having it up there, but I'm not technologically savvy enough to do it. I couldn't get one of my kids to come to this meeting, so here we go. So photo number one is my house. Photo number two is you can see pretty clearly the outline of the original hole that the city dug. And you can see that it's settled a little bit. That material that's in it now is just dust. Frankly, I think it's there from the dirt pile that we put to when we backfilled it, that I couldn't clean up very good. All the water we've had left it kind of muddy. You can see my patch, and you can see where the ditch has settled. The third photo is the city water line. You can see the water line with the square piece on it. That's, as I've been told, Robbie, help me if I screw something up bad. That's the patch. And you can see my water line. It seems odd to me, coincidentally, that where the patch is right where I started having subsidence matters or issues.
Dude, real quick, sorry.
Go ahead.
Where's this at? Is it in the street?
Yeah, this is just past the curb in the street,
Okay.
Paul, or Councilman. Okay. So
Paul's fine.
Number 4 is simply a photo of the broken sewer line. You can see that it's resting right on the water line. And it obviously wasn't broken that bad before we dug into it. When we dug into it, you could just see it was separated. You could see the top of it just a little bit, and it was kind of kinked down on either side. Not much, but bad enough that you couldn't get a camera past there. When we dug out the material, then obviously both sides collapsed even further, and it makes the notch a lot more visible. Makes it look like it was a lot worse. It was not broken that bad.
Dude, sorry. Is the pipe on the right-hand side of the picture, is that going into the street or is that going into your home?
The one on the left side, Councilman, is going to my home. The one on the right side is going to the street.
And these are the clay sewer pipes, right? These are those older.
No, it wasn't clay. It's the next generation, Robbie. What's it called? It's that
cast iron.
No, there's a kind of a fancy word for it. It's a black, like carbon-like material. It's plastic, something like that. Robbie, you know what it is? Yeah.
Okay.
Say that again. Orangeburg. Yeah, Orangeburg.
And how old was it when how long has the sewer line been installed?
No idea. It was there. We'd never messed with the sewer line.
Know how old the home is?
Well, it's a great question. It was, somebody drew up a packet of ownership in 1937, but it had been there. It was a log cabin made of railroad ties, just to where the kitchen is now. I don't know how long it was there.
Thanks.
Picture number 5 shows the backfill material up under the sidewalk. You're looking at the edge of the sidewalk, the west edge of the sidewalk, looking back towards the house, and you can still see the flowable fill. And again, I'm not calling anybody out or proving somebody wrong. It's just too coincidental that this stuff was back there to me, and that's where I had problems. Cedar City Corp uses that stuff. Robbie, how long have you been using it?
Robbie, do you want to come up to the microphone? You knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, that's what you get for coming.
Came for the water tank.
Oh, well, you're late.
The city's been
You
using.
just have to say your name.
Robbie Mitchell.
Thank you.
We've been using Flowable for at least 20 years.
Anybody else use it?
Yeah, a lot of people use it because it's 99% compaction once you put it in the ground. So it's quicker, and then you don't have to put it in layers and compact it. Once it's in the ground, water rises, you got 99% compaction right off the bat.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's great stuff, and I'm not sure there's much question as to whether the city is the one that repaired that put that patch in or not, where the digging was done. Timing is a big issue here. As I said, subsidence is a thing in Cedar everywhere, including my house, and the house that I bought just north of it recently was from my mother's house. It just happens. I get that. But the timing here, was too coincidental to me to indicate that it wasn't an issue, at least. Uh-oh. Thought that was my wife for a minute. Come on, she was saying that. Floor number 6 is the broken gutter, and you can see it, it lines up perfectly with, you can see my patch, which is the darker black, but then you can see where the gutter's broken on both sides. And that lines up perfectly. You can see the outline of the hole that was originally excavated by the city. Photo number 7 again shows the outline of the original excavation, shows my patch. You can see where the city dug and the broken gutter lines up. Now, Pup, in my meeting with Tyler, the city attorney, he said, well, most of the time this is because where people put their water line in, it ultimately sinks. I get that, but the water line is about exactly under my hose in that photo, and that's not where the sinking is. The sinking is further closer towards the porch. You can see the new cleanouts where we put in a new sewer line. And finally, the last photo is really important because it shows the pooling that's happening. Now, this is the recent rains, and then I've got a neighbor who has sprinklers that put water in this ditch. A little bit misses his lawn, and I guess frankly that's probably a significant motivator for me to be here, is that you can see that pooling. Now, people use this irrigation water to water their gardens and so forth, and you can see that ditch is going to take a lot of irrigation water to get it high enough that it gets out to overcome that pooling because of the broken gutter. That's not the ditch that I use my water shares out of, but I've had people who tried to turn the water down to their place already come to my house and say, well, here's what's holding up my water. So there's the photos. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So, Mr. Benson and I think we could be poster children on how to be friends and disagree. We've been very cordial to one another, and I appreciate his point of view. Legally, though, the reason why I denied it is because there's just a couple issues that I just take issue with. One is, so we have the work order of when the city went in and originally fixed that spot right in front of Mr. Benson's home. And that was on November 30th of 2015. So it's about and then the claim came in April, and I understand you had issues prior to that, but it was about, 3.5 years after the city was there. I do need to apologize. I was told the pipe was a clay pipe, but I guess that's incorrect. It was, but still very old. And then the other issue is there really isn't, in order for the city to be held legally liable, we have to be negligent. There has to be a showing that we did something wrong, or we didn't do something we should have. And in this situation, talking with Pup and Robbie, they're convinced that we patched this appropriately, that the fill we used was the market standard to make sure there wasn't any settling. And then the other argument would be that over 3 years passed before this claim came in. There's a lot of different things that could have caused this crack. The other issue that I know Pup was a little upset with was that Mr. Benson went in and pulled this out without giving a city a chance to be there and look at it. And he was sick, but someone else would have showed up. By the time we got there, the pipe had already been taken out. And so there's just a few things like that didn't give the city the assurance that we were at fault. So that's why it had been denied.
I just want to clarify on some dates. So November 30th was when the city came out on the work order, and April was when what claim was filed?
So we got a notice of claim from Mr. Benson we received it on April the 12th.
Of 2016?
2019.
2019.
Yeah. The repair was done November, what day did I say?
30th.
November 30th of 2015.
So, dude, your claim of 2/28/2019, is that a different?
No, it's the same one.
Same
I've
one
screwed that up every time I've told this story. The city has records as to when they did a repair. Obviously, I wouldn't.
Right.
But I also,
Well, it's within 2 months of it. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah. So no, I totally get if I can respond to Tyler's remarks. Number one, I agree that it happened in 2015. I think the high level of moisture that we received is worsened an existing problem. Because remember, I started having problems right away. I thought about going to Home Depot and because I rented the sewer snake there every time, and I didn't just because if you can't take my word for it, then we're both wasting our time. I really have no motive to be here except to tell the truth. And I had never rented. In fact, I didn't know how to run a sewer snake previous to this, and we started having to use a sewer snake within a month, 6 weeks of this being done. But I had no idea. I mean, I don't know enough about underground to connect the two. I just never occurred to me that they might be related. I'm glad, Tyler, that you brought up the pup not seeing it thing, and I'll own that. Factually, this happened on a Thursday. Pup was sick the next day. I told my wife on Friday it might be best if we waited until Monday to have sewer back on in the house. And she gave me a little dissertation on the significance and the importance of why that wasn't a good idea. And I thought I'd roll the dice and get it fixed. I really didn't feel like I had any choice. That's why I took a lot of photos. And I forget when I called you, Robbie. I might not have called you till Monday. It was Friday. Did you come and see it on Friday?
By the time I got, you want me to stand up?
Yeah, you get to come back.
All right, Robbie Mitchell again. So dude called me. By the time I made it up there, they had already cut their sewer line out and it was laying in the curb. So I did not witness it in the hole. He had already cut the piece that was broken out and pulled it out. And like I said, it was laying in the curb and they were getting ready to install the new piece. So
this picture was taken before you took it out though, right?
Right. And again, in hindsight, I probably still wouldn't wait. Truthfully, my wife knows karate and stuff. And so I took the pictures and hoped that they would be sufficient, to indicate there was a problem. Honestly, the paradigm that I approached this from, I can see now was totally wrong because I didn't think there was much question about it. Given what, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but given what a city employee that was there told me, I didn't think there was any question. I'm not gonna. I've already approached them, and they said, "Oh, I'll get in trouble." And I understand that, and I would rather just eat this than cause those kinds of problems. But I really approached this from the paradigm of this was a done deal.
So you wouldn't be in trouble.
I understand
There's
that.
another witness who
I know.
saw it, and I would value his input. Just
And
as much as anyone
frankly, I know Robbie well enough to know better than that. I really do. I mean, the truth is the truth, but all I'm saying is that I approach this from the paradigm of that it's a done deal. It's an easy thing. I'm embarrassed, Tyler, that original packet that I filled out, I put so little information again, because I thought, oh, this is just how I didn't think it was going to be even in question. I recognize now I was wrong. And then let's go back to the word negligence. Although I had a problem with that word before, and frankly still do. I think it's strong language. If that's the word you choose to use, that's the word I would use. Because I think whether there was a void in the material or whether the compaction didn't get far enough back to prevent settling, or whether the weather, the moisture, the high moisture content in the material all the way around the hole contributed to that. Frankly, I think it's all the above. But I think the reason that I didn't see it, I did see it immediately. It's why I started to have to use a sewer snake. But I didn't see it visually until 2019 was because A, I didn't dig it up, and B, I didn't connect the two.
Dude, had you noticed any change in the gutter at all prior to this? I know down in my street, just beyond you, I do have some sinking in my gutter as well.
Yeah, it's a great question. I did notice some, an inch and a half the next spring, almost immediately, and started having problems. In fact, if you look at it, you can see that I got some cheap kind of concrete stuff trying to trying to bridge the gap, and it worked temporarily, but you can see the gap in the photos.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions. So, Robbie, so was this sewer pipe sitting right on the water line originally?
You know, I don't know. When we dug that up, you can see by the one photo, we dug back to where that clamp was. We put that on there. So whether we expose that sewer line right there, we usually don't dig any further than we have to because it's just more flow we have to put back in. So I don't know, honestly.
Because it looks like that thing's going, I don't know how your sewer ever drained. It looks like it's sloping both ways.
Well, and remember, and I've said already that those pictures were after we dug around it, you know, on both sides.
So
even under
so they
it.
dropped some.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So the home was, so you think it was 1937. So this is probably the second sewer line that was installed.
I would guess, yeah.
And I bet it was Orangeburg, I think was back in I think it was installed in the 40s and 50s, I think. And I've replaced 3 or 4 of these Orangeburg, and it's junk.
Yeah.
It really is.
No
It was a total disaster.
Yeah. No question. And again, Robbie said an important thing. You know, we usually don't dig that, around that far and that, but they did. I don't know why they did, and I'm okay that they did. It's just more than coincidental to me that this is unusual to have this flowable fill back where it is, and yet it is. And I had a problem, and the timing of the problem.
Did you excavate under the water line, or I guess a little bit to fix the
Yeah,
leak, right?
we'll expose it because what's that called? It's called a stainless steel wraparound clamp. So we have to expose where that is so we can put that around there. Where it was a main shear, there was water blowing everywhere. So where the flowable fill was under the curb and his sidewalk or the planter strip in that way, it might have been because of the sloughing off of the soil as we were digging it out
How long did it leak before you guys fixed it?
that day. If we get called on a main shear like that,
Okay,
we
so it was
call it
quick.
an emergency and we're done
It
within
was real quick.
we're done
Could've been
within
that day.
5 hours. Easy.
So it could have, maybe the water that was in there could have caused some settling, or obviously there was.
It
maybe a leak.
could have.
Okay.
But we wouldn't have, we dig around our pipe. If they did expose his sewer line, it would have been probably on the top or the side, but we wouldn't have excavated underneath it. If there was flow there, it's from the slough off of when we were digging ours out.
Okay.
So,
All right.
And that's kind of brings up one of my concerns is right now it could have been this or it could have been that. And if we're before a judge and we're arguing, there has to be a link. And so there's a lot of things it could have been. It could have been the age of the pipe. It could have been water that had nothing to do with the city's fault being there.
Well,
so they're just, that's the issue. That's why there just isn't a legal connection, and that's why I denied it.
Well, I think it's undeniable that, and I've known Robbie for a long time. I trust him implicitly, but there's no denial that there's flowable fill under both lines. Why is in question. But as we uncovered it, there was, and you can see it in the picture, there is flowable fill above on both sides and under not only my sewer line, but the high pressure water line too. I mean, there's no question. And anyway, so why did I ask for the amount in question, which is $7,099.99? Well, that's because that's what it cost me by the time I sewer snaked and rented equipment and hired a contractor and in fact, it cost me a little more because I didn't get the hot fill on that bill. I'd already submitted it by the time I put the hot fill in. I know there's a subsidence problem in Cedar City all over. I know it's happening everywhere, including my home. But again, the timing of this was sudden, and the timing with the flowable fill material, to me, it's just more than a coincidence. You could probably hire 15 engineers. You'd hire 8 and I'd hire 7, and we'd probably have 15 different opinions. Well, we'd probably have 2 because all the people that I hired would agree with me and all the people that you hired would agree with you. I get it. I know that's kind of how it works. There's no question that the area that the city dug up to repair their water line has settled. You can see it in the photographs. There's no question. The question then, if there is did it break my sewer line? And I think it's really very evident that it did. I think these photos and the timeline prove that, because I didn't have problems prior to this. Questions? So now what? Well, there's some options. One is to reimburse me, which would be awesome. Two is to meet me halfway. Tyler, you mentioned this. You're the one that said we're not a private business, we're a government entity. So the standard isn't that you have to prove that we're wrong and you're right. We can meet you. We can do things to meet you part way.
I may have mentioned that sometimes a court will divvy out the proportion of fault.
That's a great idea. Let's do that. So moving right on. Frankly, it surprised me when I got the next letter from Tyler saying that he wasn't going to pay anything.
Dude, the problem with this is you buy a set of tires and they're almost worn out.
Yep.
You have one of them, you get a hole in it that can't be repaired. You can't expect to get a brand new tire, right? They're going to prorate that. They're going to prorate that out to
It's
where.
a great idea.
Right. And so even if we're at fault, that Orangeburg needed to be replaced anyway.
I totally agree.
So,
but see, I would have done it next year. And it happened this year. So buy me a new tire and we'll call it even. Sorry. You guys throw out these examples. They're like a meatball for me. I got to hit them back at you.
You're good at it.
The other is to meet me part way, make a compromise of some sort so that we both win. C, and this is my favorite now, is come fix it. Don't pay me anything. That shows you that I really have no ill intent. I really don't have anything to gain personally out of this. Send kid over, and I'll make him a hand sandwich, and we'll talk about preserving water and look at it. And then let's fix it, because you're going to end up fixing it anyway. It just will be sooner than later. And that really shows my intent. I want to be a solution-oriented person. The last option is, of course, do nothing. Well, that's up to you. I appreciate your time and your consideration and hope you'll do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
dude.
much. Appreciate your presentation.
So for the council, this will go on the action agenda and then. Okay. I'm impressed with all of you that have stuck it out this long so far. Like, good job. Okay, item number 4, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the general land use plan for medium density to rural estates residential and property located at 1525 South Westview Drive.
Dallas Buckner, go civil.
We could have made you 16.
Well, I have 12 also. So
Okay.
I was here for the long haul. I think I saw it up on the screen earlier, Kit. But basically, we got a favorable recommendation from Planning Commission. It's 135 acres off of Westview. It was annexed in. I don't know when it was annexed in, but it's currently annexed transition. So we're trying to establish the zone. It's general plan for medium density, and we're going for residential estates, which is the lowest density that the city has. And so that's why it requires the zone change and general plan amendment.
Yeah, it was quite a lengthy planning commission meeting, wasn't it? Where they were discussing
It was, yeah.
these
And
issues.
I think part of that was,
It was
just
more a discussion of Westview Drive.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It was kind of
That
conflating a couple of different projects. And so if anyone's here from that meeting to discuss that, just to reiterate, the widening of Westview is a city project, not part of the zone change.
Correct.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in essence, what would be the proposed size of these lots then in this plan?
So we had a vicinity plan on Planning Commission last night, and the phase 1 is 1 acre lots. So the residential estates is a density of two units per acre, but it's not confined to just, you can kind of mix and match. So you could have some 5 acre parcels and up to R1. But for the phase 1 vicinity plan that's been submitted, it's 1 acre lot minimums.
And with the residential estates, there's no requirement for sidewalks. Is that correct?
Correct.
But the streets would be developed by the developer and then they become dedicated city streets.
Yes, they will. Yeah, and they'll be per the city's
Standards.
Yeah, the city standard for the rural residential or residential estates, which is the 45-foot wide right of way with the borrow ditches on the side. And there's also something that'll be coming along the pipeline, which is master plan road realignment. That'll be on future, but that will be to curb, gutter, sidewalk, all that kind of stuff. But the majority of the roads within the subdivision will be with the borrow ditches on the sides.
And remind me exactly where this is located. I mean, I know it's on 1525
It's off
Southwest
of
View, but
Westview, just south of
where is
Spring
that?
Creek. North.
And where is that?
It's north of South Mountain Drive.
Okay.
That'll help.
Is it on the west or
Is it near
east side of
Walmart?
the road?
I'm just kidding. I know that. I know that.
It's on the west side of West.
Little levity here. Sorry.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so right here. So this is the parcel overall is 135 acres, and it's roughly that square. It's a little, it's not squared off right there, but this
We
is.
orient them as to
orient
where.
us.
Oh yeah,
Like,
sorry.
where's
So this is
Westview?
Westview. This
Okay.
is the Spring Creek subdivision. The service road off the highway is right there, and then this is South Mountain Drive
Okay.
that goes over to.
So.
And that's Cross Hollow Hills right there?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think, at least from my understanding of it, I think moving this to this density is actually a good thing. I think it's better than having the R2. I think it does keep more of the rural feeling out there. Of course, there's going to be roads.
Yep.
You're not going to build new homes without roads.
Yep.
Do we have any concerns about drainage since we're not having curb and gutter and sidewalk? I mean, will the proposed plan work okay for any kind of drainage problems?
Yeah, in the RA area, there is no curb and gutter. They have swells on each side of the
Right.
road that will usually take care of all the drainage that comes off there. So
Yeah, and our
there's
design
less
will have
asphalt in the.
I'm sorry, Kit, what?
There's less asphalt in the RA developments or the residential estate developments than there is in a normal R1 type development. So there's less runoff off the roads.
And as a part of the subdivision, we'll have to provide a detention basin to the engineering standards and all that. So, and then depending on, I know that there's a lot of runoff and there's Schertz Creek and everything that goes through there. But we also, on all of our, part of meeting the city standard is denoting whether we're on the FEMA floodplains and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so that'll all be factored
Now
in.
that you've identified where the property is, can you just show us kind of where phase one is planned?
Sure. Yeah. So phase one is going to be in the northwest corner.
Okay.
And that vicinity plan will be on the next city council meeting, the next cycle of city council meetings. But yeah, so it's in the northwest corner, and its main access will be through Spring Creek. And then in subsequent phases, the master plan road realignment and main entry will be built right through there.
Something discussed last month.
Okay.
We'll also be bringing in an amendment to the master plan transportation plan to show that reconfiguration of that road, the master plan road.
And that'll be within the next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from council at this time?
None for me.
I don't think so.
Okay, then we will open the public hearing specifically related to the general land use plan amendment. There is anyone that would like to address the council?
Lisa Natwick. I just have a general comment about the general use plans and master maps and all that kind of stuff. There have been tremendous changes in just the few months I've been now regular trying to attend city council and planning meetings. And when I looked at this on the city zoning map and trying to make it match up with Google Maps, et cetera, the boundaries seem a little odd to me. And so I'm wondering, I'm just throwing this out there for all of it.
The boundaries on zoning or?
Yeah. In other words, the address, and this may be no fault of anybody, it's just putting it out there. When you look at 1525 Southwest View Drive, 1525.
Do you want to use the pointer?
Sure. So 1525, if I'm not incorrect, is this street way up here when you actually get to looking at stuff. And so for those of us trying to get used to the area, and I don't know that they call that Spring Creek, so that was news to me. It was good to find out. I just, and as we get more of these changes going through, I'm wondering how long will it be before we actually go back in and update master plan documents that the public has access to through the website to see what is actually currently the status. So it's more of a general comment, not necessarily just to this one, but there's so many changes happening so fast, and it just seems to be a little confusing exactly where boundaries are and that type of thing.
No, I think those are good questions. And you're also dealing in that particular part of town. Some of it is county property, some of it is city property, and there's different zoning regulations for both of those.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is when I looked at it, I thought, oh, well, that's way up here. That's in the county. Why is the city even considering it? But yet then to come to the meeting and, oh yeah, well, it makes sense that it's this piece because it keeps being referred to as, a annex transition. So I knew that that's the piece it was about, but it didn't, address wise, it didn't match. And it would be nice, like I said, if we had access publicly to updated maps, because I know it's been a while and I don't know how often you guys usually do that.
So once zone change or general land use plan amendment is passed, once that is signed, I then send an email to Troy Maxwell, who deals with our maps in the engineers department, with the attached ordinances saying these were passed off, please update. And I believe Troy does that. I mean, it's not a long process, right? You can do it that day.
It's as soon as you send the stuff up to Troy, it's within a week. He's updating those.
Okay. And maybe then it needs to go to whoever gets it updated on the website, which is
Troy.
how the public finds out about this
the
stuff.
attorney's office to our office, and Troy updates it.
Okay. As I know some of the things that have changed recently, that's not necessarily the case yet. We'll watch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? No? Okay, then we will close the public hearing on this item and move it to our action agenda. Okay, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the zone from annex transition to residential estates for property located at 1525 Southwest View Drive.
Dallas Buckner, Go Civil. So this is for the zone of residential estates for that same parcel.
And then this is in keeping with the wishes of the property owners, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. And that was the part of the decision to go residential estates was to keep the same character and have the ability to have larger lots with horses and other types of animals there. And so that's where another thing from, if you were to read the planning commission notes, I think the word estates people were getting kind of hung up on. But yeah, that
They're
the
just
intent,
bigger homes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the intent is for it to be larger lots that you can have animals on and everything that's allowed within the RE zone.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions from the council? Okay, then we will open the public hearing on this item, the zone change. Okay. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and move that to the action agenda. Item number 6, consider approving a road dedication at 1021 South 350 West.
Is this the one right near?
And I don't know if anyone's here from Levitt Land
It's that little
or
wiggly
Tyler.
one. That's what I
So
thought.
this is the street that would be behind IFA, that new apartment complex that the Levitts are putting in. This is the final part of the process. They're just wanting to dedicate that street that leads to that property as a public road.
It was a little confusing to me when I was reading through it about the whole 325 West situation. So if the road were continued to the south, if it did, would it align with 325 West? I'm looking to someone that might have the answer.
No, what?
No.
Basically,
325.
I'm not exactly sure where these streets are here with that.
Oh yeah, I know where the apartment complex is. I've driven on Driscoll Lane. I drove it just last week. But it stops at the parking lot.
It does. And there's a cul-de-sac there at the parking lot, and that cul-de-sac is a dedicated city street.
But the cul-de-sac is a dedicated city street.
Yep. Mhm.
But is that 325 West?
I'm not exactly sure what the number is.
Oh,
but
there was
I can
something
get you that. But
reference that in our packets. And I just want to make sure that we don't confuse people looking for locations and first responders. If that is a continuation or part of 325 West, then it should be denoted on the sign as well, that it's 325 West.
Are you talking about the next item with the street name change?
I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am.
So
it's been a very long night.
They're
Where I'm
2, 6 and 7 are
with the 350 West.
Dedication.
Okay. They're the same thing, but one's the road
They are.
dedication.
They are. And just to address that, the plan is to leave 350 West on there.
That's my point.
Yeah, it'll be
Yes.
left on there, but then they want to have that Driscoll Lane added as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we good now?
I am.
What we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the road dedication is,
I'm fine. Yeah.
I think we're fine.
So are we
with
okay with that going on consent?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Paul?
Then we move to item 7. Consider an ordinance amending the street name Driscoll Lane to 350 West from Green Street to the southerly cul-de-sac.
Yeah, so this is the companionship item. They want
Right.
to have Driscoll Lane be another name to the road, but that 350 West will remain there.
Can't we Google Earth to update their maps? That apartment is there.
Yeah. Why don't you get in touch with Google about
Let me
that?
see what I can do about that.
Yeah. But I'm with Councilman Phillips. I think we need to leave the 350 West on there. I just,
yeah, we always do when we have a name and a number on the street. Actually, the numbers in big letters and the name is in small letters.
If you look at the one we
Joe
the Joe Thurston one, or
Yeah.
like all
The same
those,
thing.
yeah, that's how
Okay.
that one is.
Thank you.
yeah, because it gets too confusing without.
That's why we're on a grid system to limit. So with that one, that will go on the action agenda. Okay, item number 8, consider terminating a lease agreement between Cedar City Corp and Tom Jett. We could be more official and call you Thomas.
Good evening. This has been
For
a
reals,
good
you still
meeting.
have to
Tom
say your
Jett.
name.
Yeah, she reminds me of this. You'd think I could remember this.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm having a senior moment. I forgot the Paul Bittman contacted me in, I believe it was mid or early part of February, to ask me if I would be interested in helping with a potential project that's going to take place on Main Street regarding some property that I had leased from the city approximately 10 years ago. And I told Paul anything that I can do to ever help economic development in the city, I want to participate. And so he explained what it would entail and so forth. And I said, I'm all on board to give back the property that I had a lease agreement with. It's behind La Fiesta and behind MCO. It does not affect those particular properties. And this is for a project for some adjoining properties. And so I'm not sure how much at liberty I'm to say what the plans are for that property. But it's something to help with economic development for our Main Street.
I don't think
This would facilitate 100 East going.
Yeah, so what we get out of it is we get 100 East going north and south. The Forest Service is going to go in and redevelop all of their property, and they're going to raise the old structures that are on the property and build a new office. We would get the road right away for 100 East, and we would dispose of this property. The Forest Service would be able to bid on it, and their plan is to purchase it from us and move their parking right next door.
So rather than right now, they kind of run deep through it. They would allow us to be able to take 100 East that way and put their parking.
Yeah, just so we're clear, they're not going to develop 100 East for us.
No,
but
no,
we could
I
get the
no, I
right of way.
recognize that, but give
Yeah.
us the right of way to
The
do
feds
so
have
we
a
can
different
develop
view
it.
of the world than everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
So are you saying we can't, when they develop that property, they don't have to put the street curb and gutter in? Are you serious?
They're not going to put any improvements in.
Really?
What's with that?
They're the feds.
Normal way we would get it is through a business or a
Yeah,
building
that's-
permit, and that's the normal way we would work with people to get roads and everything
What if we don't
else.
give an occupancy permit until they do?
They don't ask us for anything.
No,
They don't ask us for building permits or occupancy permits. They don't care.
That's why
Wow.
they built in a flood zone over there.
In a hole?
This has been a long-term negotiation, even to get
Wow.
to this point.
Wow.
They may need some of our water and sewer services, so that's a little bit of leverage on.
Yeah, we
stuff.
could do
There you go,
that.
Kit.
Yeah.
We've had that conversation with them.
A couple porta potties might serve them well until they do.
Multi-million-dollar reinvestment, then they get porta potties out front.
Okay.
I like
So-
your thinking, Kit.
Are we good with moving forward with this?
Yes.
Consent.
Well, I am.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, item number 9, a public hearing to consider forgiving Southwest Wildlife Foundation's water bill. Your turn. Yes.
Just basically, we,
Still have to say your name too.
oh, Susan Tyner
Thanks, Susan.
with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation. Basically, we had a water leak that started in January, and I guess we didn't realize it until we got our March bill. And we fixed it as soon as we could. We had the water turned off. And anyhow, so the 3 months occur basically from March, April, and May, the bills are almost $2,500. We did get a shut-off notice last week that we had to pay the $1,800 past due, which we did so that they wouldn't shut off the water to the restroom facility. But, just, I guess the water system and the different things work on their own pace. But we paid that, so the restroom's still going. But we were just asking the city if they would consider waiving the fees, not the regular fees, but when we had all that leakage that we were unaware of, and it accumulated rather quickly. So
Is this something we want to bring up in the action meeting, or can I state how I feel?
Well,
About
no matter, you can state all, we still have to have a public hearing.
I've thought a lot about this, and I think where you guys provide such an awesome service, this is really Cedar City's restroom. I mean, most of the people on the trail, my wife appreciates it a great deal, so I have to disclose that. But I think my vote would be to forgive the overages, but fine you for turning it on yourself. What is it, Robbie? Is it $100? $100. I think we ought to fine you so we're consistent with our policy. Because if you guys hadn't have turned it on by yourselves, the water department would have noticed it, which is unfortunate, right? Isn't that kind of the consensus?
actually, when it did get turned, the leak did stop after it was repaired. So
But before, if the water department had turned it back on, they would have probably noticed it was leaking. Is all.
it wasn't leaking. No, we had, the water department turned it off when it was. But anyways,
But anyway,
no, we
be
turned it on, which
consistent,
is against the
that
rule.
would be my vote, is to forgive because you guys provide such an awesome service. You guys maintain the bathrooms, you clean them. We forgive it, but we charge the fine for turning it back on.
I do understand that completely. And
Yeah, and my questions are kind of along the same line. To just clarify, there was the one bill for 1832,
Mhm.
and then was the 596 like after the water was
Afterwards.
turned back on?
Basically, it's because we turned the water off March 11th. And it was because the bills, they read the meters, but then it's like 2 months before the bills come in. So the leak started in January, but we were unaware of it until we got the March bill. We had them go back to read it again and says, oh yeah, you're definitely losing water. And they shut it off for us. And then it took us 2 weeks to repair it, and then we turned it on. And so that $1,800 was just during that little period of time in March between, I think, just a very short time. So I don't think there was any more leakage after we turned it on, because I met one of the city people up there when I got the next bill, and because I freaked out, about had a heart attack.
Okay.
And so I met a city person up there and says, go turn it off. And I says, can you tell me how bad it's leaking? And he looked at it. He says, it doesn't look like it's leaking at all. And then he turned it on, and we waited a few minutes. We flushed the toilet a couple of times. He says, I don't think you've gone through more than 5 gallons with a couple of toilet flushes in the last 10 minutes. So he says, no, the leak seems to be fixed. It's just because of the bills, or there's a delay in sending the bills that we were unaware of it until then. But we did turn it on without the city, and so we definitely violated that. So, any type of help you can offer us, we would appreciate. That's all.
And I know that money has to come from somewhere. So that's the
Well,
dilemma, right? Is
well,
where do we get the money to pay for that?
Here's a suggestion. If you guys next week come to a dollar figure, in your motion, tell us to pay them out of a community promotions account. Okay. You pay the water bill, we'll send you a check for whatever they're going to forgive. That keeps it straight in our books and our accounting and everything.
Okay.
Can we just talk about the?
So you want me to just go ahead and pay the rest of the past due?
Can you just tell us what you think's fair as far as us paying you? I mean, what does everybody think? Let's just get it done now.
Does anybody have any comments?
We have to do it next
This is
week.
public
Can't
comments,
we
so
come up with an amount now? And so it's
I want to know what your normal water bill is.
$22.50 a month.
So
And
the
that-
596 from April is still part of the leakage that was billed back. It was March, but you didn't get the bill until April.
Right.
So what we're looking at, the total amounts here, that is your total bill, including your 2250 or whatever your normal.
No, we would definitely want to pay our normal bill.
No, but is that included in the dollar amount we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
It would, because it would include everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because clearly they should be paying their normal water bill. We shouldn't be.
So
we shouldn't be.
Yeah, this would
doing that.
include whatever the normal bill would be. It's just all factored in higher because of the leakage.
and how many months of the regular water bill we talking? Is it just one?
Like
2 months?
it would be. We're talking about March and April.
So we take the $45 plus the $100 for turning it on, and then deduct that from the total.
Tyler kept a copy of what I brought you guys earlier. Sorry, I didn't bring it with me again this time.
We have it in our package.
We have it in our
You have
package.
it?
We have it in our
Okay.
package.
We're
Yeah.
Okay. Good. But yeah, I worked later than I planned, and I didn't bring anything with me today. Sorry. So
Well, in my other,
I just figured if I didn't ask, then there's no help at all, and I would at least ask. That's what my board wanted me to do, and so I've been the lucky one who gets to come and do that.
I would agree with Councilman Cousins that there is a service that's provided and that Southwest Wildlife Foundation has helped immensely. Although a lot of those funds came through RAP tax funding, and you've
They
got to
did.
admit that.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, I know that there is service you provide, and we appreciate that. So I too am in favor of doing some kind of negotiated fee that we can come to. I'm not sure of the dollar amount yet, but we don't have to make
It's
that
okay.
decision
No,
tonight, even though you want to make it tonight.
Well, I don't want to make it. I just want to have it.
something
I don't know.
to think
We can talk
about.
about
So
it later, I
The
guess.
other council members have comments, questions before we open the public hearing.
No, just,
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate what you guys do too.
Well,
So I'm in generally in
And I
favor of.
appreciate the difficulty of what you do, just
So.
being at the few meetings I've come to and then sitting at this long one tonight. It's like, I have to say, thank you for your service.
You've picked a couple special ones.
Yeah.
All right. So now we will open the public hearing on this item. If anyone would like to address the council. Okay, we will close the public hearing and we will move this onto our action agenda for next week. What is page 2? We're making great progress here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's only
What do you
5
get
after
to
8.
Item number 10, public hearing to consider approving an ordinance amending restricting vaping and electronic cigarettes in the city parks. I'm impressed you guys have sat through all of this. Good job.
It's how democracy works.
My name is Jessica Anderson, and I'm the president of the Iron County Teens Against Drugs. We are a volunteer group of youth who work together to try and prevent drug and alcohol use in the community and especially with youth. We came and presented a couple weeks ago to propose that we change the city ordinance to include e-cigarettes in the no smoking policy in the parks. And we also proposed to donate signage, and we've been working on that, though we haven't made any progress. But we we met with the city attorney, and we came up with some new wording for the city ordinance. And I think, did we have that?
I provided them a copy.
We have a copy.
Yeah, we all have copies.
So yeah, so all that's really changed. We're making it in accordance with the state law, and so it's the same. And we just included at the top. We included e-cigarettes as well as the all the other stuff that you can't use in the parks.
Just go through it for Tyler.
Yeah, so we included that or electronic cigarette language, so that's now
Slide 2.
included in the definition.
Yeah, and then we added the definition.
The definition, we added language that just said what also is permitted is electronic device used to deliver or capable of delivering vapor containing nicotine or other substance into the individual's respiratory system.
So it just extends the smoking prohibitions to these electronic and vaping
Correct.
type
Yeah.
cigarettes.
And it is accordance with the state legislation. I guess my question, but it's the question with all these kinds of things is how do you control it? You know, you put the signage up and you hope that people will pay attention, but there's certainly no guarantee of that.
Well, right now we're just mostly addressing the problem that people don't know that our parks are smoke free in general. So that's why we want to add the additional signage.
Mhm.
And then by adding vaping, we've seen it work in other communities. And we just met with a bunch of other coalitions like ours for different counties, and they've seen it change if they've had it on bus stops, just changing vaping, or at large community events. And so that's the kind of change we want to make here.
It's great. I think it's wonderful, and I appreciate you guys taking the effort to do
Thank
this.
you for being
Good
so
job.
proactive. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
very well done.
So this one, we have a public hearing. If there is anyone that would like to speak. No. Okay, then we'll close the public hearing and move this to our action agenda.
Yep.
All right, item number 11, consider approving the final plat for Sage Spring Phase 2.
He's trying to get there.
Thank you all for being here.
Good for them. That is a great group.
Mm-hmm. Very involved.
My name is Ben Batty. This is Sage Springs. Do you have any questions? No, it's underneath the freeway out by Canyon View High School. Phase 1 of Sage Springs is already existing, and it's actually duplex lots. And this is just one extra little phase.
Tyler, all is in order.
So we're missing the letter of credit, but I got a letter from the bank saying they're going to get that to me before our action meeting.
Okay.
And I will report on that before the council votes next Wednesday.
Would you like this on action?
Yeah, let's put this on action.
Could you say where that was?
So it's under. So it's like if you go see. Wait,
2150 Northfield, right?
Northfield Road.
2150
How do I
Northfield.
turn this on?
You go under
There's
the
a
freeway.
pointer. There, push a button.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the high school. You go underneath there, like there's a little road right here that you go underneath the freeway. Yes. And then it's just out kind of in that farm field. And if you get out here, this is like this is where this old Southwest Tech or whatever it is used to be, Frank Nichols's buildings. And it's just this. Dave Sills actually developed the first phase of this in 2007.
Well, and there's development going
Just in
across
time to
the
go
street,
bankrupt.
right?
You what?
Isn't there development going right across the street?
Yeah, and so Burgess is doing a piece here.
Right.
And that piece is for, I think he's doing townhomes.
Yeah.
And this is zoned R3. This is zoned R2.
All right. So are there any other questions? We'll put this
No.
on the action.
That was super easy.
Yeah,
Too
glad
easy.
you were here.
You made it easy, man.
Too easy.
Glad you
Let's
were
debate
here.
it some more.
Okay, well, we can debate some more. I mean,
Okay.
I ordered you, somebody out there made me order
Ben?
you
Do
cookies
you have
too.
grievances? Do you have a
I will.
grievance you'd like to share with us? Or
I have lots of
anything?
grievances, but they're not for public forum.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 12, consider approving the amended plat for phase 2 of the Fort Cedar Commerce PUD.
Dallas Buckner, Go Civil. So let's see if we get zoomed in. Yeah. So the photos on this are kind of out of date also, but phase 2 was a final plat that was approved. It was originally approved with 40-foot wide right of ways. And then in construction, it had borrow ditches as well. They made a construction change to build curb and gutter. And so there's an extra 5 feet or so behind the curb. And so the amendment to the plat is to basically shrink those right of ways to be at the back of curb. And then there was also a minor change between lots 9 and 10, where the lots numbering remained the same, but the interior lot line was shifted to coincide with the building that's going to be constructed there. So
Where's lots 9 and 10?
it's this middle island right here. So this interior lot line right there was just moved to the north.
Okay.
And it's a PUD project. So it's private streets.
Do you have a question?
I'm just trying to figure out what we're doing here. I mean, I know where this project is. I've driven it, but by putting the curb and gutter in, you're asking that the front lot line adjustment be made to what? To back a curb? Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
So it was originally 40-foot wide road right of way, and so with the not having to build those borrow ditches, the curbs were put at edge of asphalt, and so there's an extra 5-foot strip.
Right.
And so basically there's a 5-foot strip that the city would.
You wouldn't want to landscape that, huh?
No. Well, I don't know.
Cars that drive over it, it's their driveway.
Okay. Tom, we're going to talk someday. I have no questions.
Okay, are we good with this going on consent?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. For the staff portion, item number 13, consider resolution amending the consolidated fee schedule. Who wants to head this up? We have a whole bunch of names. You want to head it up, Tyler?
So this is just our yearly update to the fee schedule that we do that we coincide with our budget. The proposed fee changes, I'll have these individuals come up and talk about them, but deals with water meters, deals with the airport. We deal with some animal shelter things, and the Heritage Center. And these are all fee schedule changes that were proposed in their budget. So maybe we'll have Mr. Holt come and talk first about the airport.
My name's Nick Holt, and I'm the airport manager at Cedar City Regional Airport. I come tonight with 3 different fee changes that I would like to bring to you. The first fee change that I'd like to address is with the fee schedule regarding rental car parking fees. Currently, the airport charges the car rental companies a fee to park there and stage their vehicles for the car rental. Currently, the airport's charging 6 cents per square foot per year in their lease. Their lease is up for renewal. Our current rate on the fee schedule is 10 cents. So if there's no change, there's not going to, we'd be able to raise it to 10 cents per year. I've provided on the second page of this agenda item a comparison of 4 different airports. Durango, Colorado, they're charging $30 per space per month. Lincoln Airport's charging $17 per stall per month. Vernal, Utah, is charging $3.50 per month. And currently St. George Regional is charging $15 per month, but is looking at raising their rate to $20 per month. I've taken this to the airport board and airport management, and we'd like to recommend a fee of $5 per month per parking stall for the car rentals.
How do you feel that the rental companies will respond to that request? Have you had any conversations at all with any of them?
I have, yeah. I reached out to both of their front desks. I had a call back from the regional manager from Enterprise Rental Car. I explained that their leases are up for renewal and that there would be a fee increase, and that this increase would be one of them that we're looking at increasing. And they said that they appreciate doing business at Cedar City. They want to continue to do business with us. Our other company is Avis Budget.
Right.
And I have not heard back from them.
Okay.
We're a bargain.
Oh, we're a way bargain. That's what I'm saying. We may want to consider this. I don't know how often we want to do this, but $5 is a bargain.
So our leases are 5-year leases. So, and they're 3 years past due. So
holy smokes.
So we've gone 8 years without raising. So
and we'll
that's
be
too
going
long.
another 5 years before we do it again.
We'll go another 5 years. So I think $5 is fair. I think it's not gouging them by any means. It's
more
a
than
wage that
Can we have a
choose. We could do more than that, but
Can we have an automatic,
Well, that's what I was
increase every, so we don't even have to really think about it. We just know it goes up. I mean,
after
15,
the third
20%
after the third year, it
just
goes up. Yeah.
So we don't have to
we could
really,
look at that. Yes.
so we don't forget about it for another 8 years.
Well, and we're moving with the times and the change that are happening in the community and with the economy. And I mean, when you look at other communities, if St. George is 15, we should be 10. Anyway, I agree with Councilman Cousin. We should look at a way to maybe build something into this fee structure. I don't know if we can do that.
We have a mechanism to do that?
Well, we could write it into the lease that the lease will increase 5% a year or whatever percentage we want to do.
I think something like that. I'd like to get some advice. Maybe you guys look at it over the next few days and come back but I really would encourage that, because I think $5 a stall is cheap.
And I brought that up too. I was concerned, but what we talked about last time was that we don't want to make it so high that we're kind of a smaller airport. We don't want to make it so high that they leave or.
So I should disclose, there are other ways that we collect revenue from them. This isn't our only source of revenue from the car rental companies. They do lease a office space inside the terminal, and then we also get 10% of the revenue.
But that's pretty standard at most airports.
That is standard across the airports.
Yeah.
So.
How does everybody else feel? Do you think $5 is too cheap?
I think it seems relatively cheap. Overall, what does this do to their costs?
So they were currently paying, if we raised it to the 10 cents, what's currently on our fee schedule, they'd pay $243 per year. If we raise it to the $5 flat rate fee per month, and they continue to rent 15 stalls, each company rents 15 stalls, that'd be $900 per year.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cheap.
That's 7. Yeah.
3+.
But it's pretty
I rented a van
significant
from there not
increase,
too
so-
long ago, and what I paid in fees to the rental company, they can afford stalls. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would encourage us to do that.
So do you want a
So this is-
different amount?
Well,
this is
I
open.
would like to maybe take a suggestion. I don't know if 5% is the right amount. I want you guys to look at it a little bit and maybe come back and present to us so we could say, yeah, that's a good amount.
Just something that forces us to look at it, right? Like a sunset clause where it forces us to look.
I don't want to say right now that 5% a year is the right amount, because it may not be the right amount.
Right.
I don't know if you want to just build that in perpetually, because the economy doesn't, we go up, we go down.
Right, but maybe after the third year, it goes to $7.
Theoretically, every year we're supposed to have them review all of our, like the departments are supposed to review.
Yeah,
all
but
their
if we have a 5-year lease,
Yeah.
We're locked into that.
So we could start at a fee of $5 and then every year it goes up a percentage within that 5-year contract. And so it doesn't.
I like that.
Yeah, maybe,
So
maybe
then
you could put a cap
after
on
the
it.
5 years, we can reevaluate what the economy's doing.
Yeah, so
and-
maybe you put a cap on it and you have a $5 fee to start.
10%
It can go up to as high as 10 on a percentage, as we evaluate it year to year.
Okay.
And build that into the lease.
So with the rental car one, come back with something
Tell
dealing
us
with
what-
an
Tell
increase.
us what that
Yeah.
number should be.
Okay.
Okay.
Not to gouge them, but to make sure that we're not the bottom of the heap.
Yep. Ready to move to the next item?
Yes.
Okay, our next item is rental. There's an adjustment to the fee schedule regarding the large hangar with heater. Is what it's referred to as on our fee schedule. This is a fee change. This hangar hasn't been reevaluated in 15 years. And currently the rate is $214.89 per year. This hangar is
Per year, per month?
Per month.
per month.
Okay.
Thank you. $214.89 per month. And this hangar,
How many square feet is that?
well, that's what I was just looking for so the total leased space for the whole lease, they lease the ground underneath the hangar. It's a city-owned hangar, so we own the building as well. And that's a total of 10,122 square feet. So it includes a hangar and I believe 4 office spaces inside it. And
Shoot, I'll rent
also has a parking space out front for vehicles. The new proposed,
How long has that been going? 15 years?
15 years.
How are we missing these things?
So this, the tenant actually did some improvements. And so there were some agreements that were made to justify not raising the rate
So
during
some
that
sweat
time.
equity that he
Yep.
or she can.
But I feel, and the airport board feels that they've gotten their value back.
Yeah.
And
Say.
and so I've gone and done some comparisons of what other airports are charging. These hangars are typically between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet. Workfield has several hangars this size. One they charge $10.45 per square foot. Another one they charge $900 flat rate. The 900 is for a hangar that's 3,600 to 5,000 square feet, so smaller than what we have. $800 flat rate for a hangar between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet, and another hangar that they're charging $1,200 a flat rate. And that one's also, it's a newer hangar, but it's between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet. Huntsfield has a hangar that they charge that's between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet for $800. Huron charges $3,000 per month. Lincoln Airport charges $1,245 per month for a hangar 3,600 to 5,000 square feet.
Where's Lincoln Airport?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Ah, thank you.
So these rates were taken out of an economic development study that was done by several different states. And that's where these numbers have been derived from. And after looking at these numbers, the airport board, city management, and myself would like to propose a rate of $1,000 flat rate per month.
Good.
Last item I'd like to address is our tie down fee. Currently our rates, we have the first night free, a $10 per night charge, $35 per month, a $300 per year charge. What we're finding is the first night freeze causing issues. We've got people that are flying in. So we do have some residents that pay a yearly fee. This wouldn't affect them because they're already paying the $300 per month. This would affect those that are flying into our airport from outside our city. What we're seeing is people will fly in, they'll get their first night free, they'll leave the next day, they'll go out flying, then they'll come back and say, oh, well, we just flew in, and try to get another night free. So we'd like to do away with the first night free, get rid of that. As the airport manager, I'd like to reserve the right to be able to waive the first night charges if they buy fuel from us, because we get fuel flowage fees. So this would help avoid those that are trying to beat the system.
You think people come here, fly into our airport because they get a free tie down, maybe?
I don't think that. I think that they have a purpose for coming, and I don't think a $10 fee is going to deter them from coming to our.
I like that idea. If they buy fuel, you waive it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So
If I have a private plane, I think I can afford a $10 tie down fee.
yeah,
I think so. In fact, I'd kind of
Of
expect.
course, I might make my pilot pay it, but
that's all I have for you. Any questions?
no.
Can we get these on a to be watched list so that they come up very regularly?
Yeah, the
15
leases,
years.
the leases.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
I don't
I've
know
only
what
been
kind of,
That'll be a 5-year lease, right?
I've only been in this office since February, and that's
I
one of
know.
the first things that we're
Yeah.
looking at. We want to make sure that we aren't missing these. So
okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, that 1,000 a month, won't it go up with the CPI like our normal leases go up now?
So the CPI adjustments, I don't believe this lease has a CPI because it's a city-owned property. So it's a 5-year renewal. So in 5 years, we'd have to look at reevaluating the price.
So it is fixed for the full 5 years?
So our it would be a fixed rate of
Okay.
$1,000 for the 5 years.
But at least it's not 15. I don't know.
And our CPI adjustments work off of our land leases for those that own their own hangars.
I just didn't know why we didn't use like the same like methodology or whatever.
Maybe we should.
We could.
Maybe we should,
Make it easier.
as we're proposing for the rental stalls. Is that what you're suggesting, Councilwoman?
This is for
No, on this
the
1,000
hangar
a month,
rental.
'cause they're
Yeah.
they're fixed for the full 5 years at 1,000. There's no
Right, but you're saying that we should build something into
yeah,
it.
because when we do the land lease for where
Uh-huh.
they put their hangars on,
Mhm.
it's adjusted annually
I
for
see.
to the CPI index.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would.
I don't
think
know.
that's a good idea.
Will you work on that between now and next week?
Sure. So I will present both the hangar fee adjustment with the increase, and
Okay.
also for the car rental.
Correct.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Nick.
Thanks.
Okay, Jason.
Jason Clark, Heritage Theater Manager in Festival Hall. I have two items to address. One is when the fee schedule was created originally back 17 years ago under Bill Lelbach, he proposed two different things, and one got approved, and yet he did another. He said we should do an a la carte. There's an a la carte way of renting the space. You rent for the room, and then you charge for the tables, you charge for a mic stand, you charge for every little knickknack. Somehow that wound up in city code, but that's not what he did, nor his successor, nor I was even aware of that for some time. What we have done is we've simply based it on the room size and the time rented, and we didn't go and bother and count chairs and tables and all of those things. So what I'd like to do is propose that we simply adopt what we have done in practice de facto. So that would clean it up a lot. It would also simply make it a lot easier for myself, Dallin Alcott, to manage the bills. And if someone needs an extra table, modifying his invoice is an insane proposition for that kind
Yeah,
of.
as long as as long as the room rentals and things meet the financial needs of what it takes to run the building and the
Well,
facility.
we just need to be honest. We run at an operational loss.
I
And
recognize that.
we're just, what I'd like to do is that kind of segues into the next thing. Our fee schedule had some real bizarre kind of hither and yon things. Originally, basically we were trying to soak private people and on the weekends, and the rates were extremely high. What that caused is that we basically weren't getting any private rentals on the weekend. Several years ago, I came in and I addressed that and said, we're just not getting them. Let's lower those rates to see where we can actually get people in and attend it. We also looked at balancing out some other rates. But I have done that over a period of time because what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to cause a shock to our local constituencies and groups. That they're using the building's in high use now, but adjusting everything at once would be a financial burden. So the one rate I would like to adjust is the rehearsal rate for the theater. Presently, it's 35% of what we charge for a performance. And the reality is when we're in a rehearsal situation, our costs are almost as high as when we're doing a performance. Now, they don't have any opportunity to generate any revenue, obviously, but we're still running the air conditioner. I still have staff. We've got to provide bathrooms. Really the only thing that's different is when there's a show, I've got a box office person type of thing. So our costs are virtually the same, whether they're in rehearsal or their performance. So I do propose that we change the rehearsal rate to be 50% of what we charge for a performance.
What do we charge for a performance?
We charge $500 Sunday through Thursday, and $550 on Fridays and Saturdays. Now, we also do have in the fee schedule, nonprofit organizations get a 35% discount. And so they would be charged, 65% of that 50%. Because right now we're only charging 35% of our performance rate, and then they're getting an additional 35% off of that. So, you got the theater with all of its cost and operations, and and I'm charging $120.
How often does the Orchestra of Southern Utah rehearse?
They do a dress rehearsal before each performance. Messiah, there's a couple additional rehearsals simply because of the magnitude of that kind of organization. This would affect the groups that would affect most strongly would be those groups that do drama productions.
Like the Simon Fest and those kinds of things.
Yes. But they are in the building. They are, we're running the heat and all, or the cooling and all of those kind of things. So I don't propose that we eliminate the discount. Originally, that discount was a 50% discount Sunday through Thursday. I came several years ago and I asked that to be reduced down to 35% discount. So we're making those adjustments so that the fee schedule there's a more logical approach to the fee schedule. Also, one of the ideas is that once we feel the fee schedule is entirely in balance, then we're not coming in and asking for this adjustment here and that adjustment here. We simply say, at this time, we think we should raise the fee schedule by 5%.
Sure.
So the rehearsal rate is kind of one outlier that I'd like adjusted.
Well, I want to be sensitive about this. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it, but most of those nonprofit organizations use the RAP tax funding they receive to pay right back to the Heritage Center for its use.
And I am keenly aware of that.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of heat when I approached it and said giving people a 50% discount on top of everything else. But as a steward of the city and city resources, I felt that really was put in there to kind of prime the pump. And now that we've primed the pump and we're getting the building used, 35% discount for nonprofits seems more rational and justifiable than a whole 50% discount.
Yeah.
And basically that's kind of what I'm saying here with this rehearsal rate. We've given a very low rehearsal rate for 17 years. I'm talking about changing it from 35% of the performance rate to 50%. And then I believe at that point, I can't see any major tweaks. We would come back, you know, in 2-3 years and say, we'd like X percentage across the board.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions or concerns?
I trust your judgment.
Yeah.
What you think is right. I think you do this all the time, and
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Here,
Robbie.
Robbie.
Oh my gosh.
I tried to have it like earlier.
I was waiting for public safety. They're next. All right, so on mine, all this is my meter fees.
holy cow. Thank you. Oh my God.
You're gonna want to wait for 2 seconds because no one's gonna.
Well, in a
listen to
minute,
you.
I'm gonna have a cookie in my face, so I'm not gonna be able to talk.
Hey, look at those. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, they're huge.
Right.
Those are good. I had one the other day.
Keto free, right?
But you just want a few. Gotta break them off because they're enormous.
Sure.
Do you want these are lime. They're really good.
Yeah, Trey.
You got in there?
Cookies not hot yet?
Huge.
Yeah, here's one right here, right here.
You don't want our chocolate chips.
Trouble is, my wife's watching me break my diet.
I think we've got two.
Thank you.
Are these both boxes, both the same?
Is the,
Here's the one.
All right, you can.
We
go.
can continue
Yeah,
now?
you can continue now.
We're with you, buddy, all the way.
On there.
Now you
We'll have
got
a sugar
food to
high,
say,
we'll be
yeah,
so
when they
happy.
go
Pay
home.
attention.
But way to hold off on these till after your item, Ben, so it didn't look like.
You're bribing.
I really wanted a better presentation. You get it after. I'm just late.
So on my fee increases, all these are as water meters. I haven't raised the price in water meters or the cost for them for 2 years. So what I've done is talk to Neptune, my supplier. We went off of last year's, what they anticipate the cost is going to be increasing this year. And that's what the increase in costs are. So
No problem.
no, none.
Done.
just not
Done.
easy enough.
Done.
Would you like a
Yeah.
You
cookie?
came after
Got
the
one.
Keep
cookies.
going.
Way to
Oh,
go.
that one.
I've been out there all night. He told me he was going to do these. That's why I stayed.
That's the only reason. Good evening again, Chief Adams with the Police Department. We just have two things. The first one is the fee for adoption for animals. If you recall from the budget presentation, asking for that to increase by $25 from 40 to 65. That covers the microchip. It also covers the neuter fee. Spay fee is a little bit higher, so there's a bit of a loss when we spay. And then the other cost is for the easy fee. We provide education to off-premise alcohol retailers and their employees to mitigate or prevent alcohol getting into the hands of our youth. And so we've never charged since the inception of this program, which was pre-2006. It's just a public service we provided, but the state mandates that those names go onto a state database. So if they move from one retailer to another, we can track them. And so that's $3.50, and then $1.50 is for the ID cards that we provide, and that'll cover those costs.
And so by tracking them, they don't have to pay it repeatedly.
Right. Or if there's a compliance issue
Right.
and we have somebody that's sold
Sure.
and moves along. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
No questions?
Thank you.
No questions.
All right. Then this will go on our action agenda.
Yep.
All right. Item number 14, review bids for the Aviation Way to 3900 West Sewer Project.
Good evening.
How are you?
My name is Trevor McDonald with the City Engineering Department.
Hi,
Let's talk a little bit about sewer.
Yahoo!
So a while back, we came to you to express a need for gravity sewer service in the areas of Aviation Way and Cross Hollow Road. The gravity sewer line in that area would alleviate loading on the 2300 West sewer outfall line that follows Airport Road and then goes north along 2300 West.
Which we've had a lot of trouble with, right?
That line is currently nearing or at capacity.
We were running sewage down the gutter for a while, right?
I hope not.
There's
Were we really?
there have been times when it's surcharged and
It was
exceeded
when
the
we had a
capacity
problem
of
with the line.
Yeah.
They were running, right, Kit? There was a time there weren't we running sewage down the gutter for a while the pipe was getting fixed?
Yeah,
So this is a good move.
I'm not sure about that.
I think
I remember it.
I think I
Sorry.
I may vaguely remember that, as well as there might have been a blockage of a brick or some construction material got in the line and backed up the 2300 West line. That line is at capacity, so we're in need of a gravity sewer service to come in and divert the sewer flows from going that way and then head it this way. The other point is there's 2 lift stations. The Cross Hollow lift station is here, and the
MTI.
yeah,
Right
there's
there.
a glare on the screen. I'm not really. It's somewhere over here. The MTI lift station's over here. A gravity line would eliminate these 2 lift stations, which is a plus for the city sewer system. Budget was approved in the amount of around 1.3 million. That allowed the city engineering department to work on acquiring easements, to work on designing the sewer line, and now at this point to advertise construction bids for this project. So we recently received 3 bids. One was, let me pull that out here. We got bids from Blackburn, Interstate Rock, and Smith Construction. Smith Construction was the low bid at $914,271.50. That is within budget. And I recommend that Smith Construction be awarded this bid. Are there any questions?
Have all the easements been obtained?
From what I have heard, so we've obtained easements on this area. Sorry, the property line is somewhere right here. This is Smead, and then Wheeler Machinery we have obtained easements on, and then the rest is city property, and then there's already an existing easement that we will go down right here. Smead has given me their word that they signed the documents. I just haven't received them in the mail yet. So we're.
Is that going to go different than last time?
It's drastically different than last time.
Easements in the mail, huh?
It's just the U.S. Postal Service. It's, you know. Any other questions?
So with that in line, there's no legal reason why this shouldn't move forward.
No. Okay.
All right. Are you good with that going on consent? Do you have more questions?
No, that is great for the city.
Thank you.
Actually save us money in the long run.
Yeah.
All right.
2 lift stations.
Item number 15, consider various conceptual plans and estimates for development of the Aquatic Center property.
So this is what we discussed earlier. We did receive some cost estimates yesterday afternoon, raised some questions with the architect and the estimator. Been through a couple versions back and forth. When we get some final estimates, and we'll publish those and proceed from there. I know Mr. Staley's here and he was eager to chat with you also. I really don't have anything more to add at this point.
Mr. Steady, come up before we fall asleep.
Dallin Staley with the ice rink. Yeah, I guess I'd maybe just ask exactly what you're looking for and see if you have questions. I sent out an email. I know it was kind of late because we were having a hard time getting a hold of people.
I haven't read it yet.
I have not either. So
we
we were
don't-
all at work. Well,
Yeah.
no, Scott wasn't.
No, but I was getting
But-
ready for this meeting.
You doing your hair?
Yeah, I was doing my hair. That's exactly what I was doing.
You can tell.
So we
we've been here for 2 hours
did.
at this point.
We didn't even know that had been sent until we were sitting in this meeting. So we're going to have a lot of questions on we haven't even looked at it. So
But if we can do due diligence between now and this time next week, that'll work fine.
Okay.
But we want to make sure we're comfortable with all of
Yeah.
the spreadsheets and all of the numbers because this
Yep.
is a memorandum of understanding between both parties.
Yep.
Right?
so I don't know if you want to talk about that or.
I know Dallin's reached out to Mark. I've reached out to Mark.
Yeah, we've tried hard.
Mark knows we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. So, maybe if just so between now and next week, would you guys mind just kind of telling me what will you gain out of the estimates and kind of what you're looking for? And maybe we could even talk through before next Wednesday, we could talk. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the estimates and what's there and what shouldn't be there.
Well,
I'm probably at least as in the loop as the contractor
As
and
long
maybe
as we
more.
can fire
So
away via email. Just
I
ask
think
our questions as we
for me, and again, I speak only for me, is in an effort to sort of move the gymnasiums forward along with the ice rink, which was always the intent as we discussed a month or so ago, looking at the pros and cons of both approaches, because there's only two options that we're now looking at. And basically it's gymnasiums here, ice rink here, or ice rink and gymnasiums here. So we want to look at what is the cost differential. What about this heat exchange thing? Is it going to work? What does it work? How much is that going to cost if it's at this location as opposed to this location? What happens to entrances and exits and bathrooms and all of those kinds of things? And so all of that has to be looked at. And I guess I don't know enough about it yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I was curious is just, what's our objectives in looking at the different options. So.
Well, we want to figure out a way to move both of them forward, but it's critical for us to see what those costs are and where we haven't even had an opportunity to look. That's why we're kind of like, we don't have any questions because we don't have any information. So.
Okay. Yeah. And as
So,
you know,
so if that's okay, if we can review it and then, like Craig says, contact you, email you, like have some conversations.
I mean, if you want to, since we haven't seen the summary, if you want to share some of that information and just talk us through it, that would be fine.
Right there. You want to write it down?
I don't
and
know.
Give us just a summary.
It's been a long night, so I don't know that
Yeah.
If you don't think it's productive, I don't need to waste your time. I'm more than happy to just, review it one-on-one through the next week too. And maybe just a little curious about what you're looking for. Is it the additional cost of the gym compared to the additional cost of the ice rink? I assume is kind of a big side by side that you want. Okay. And that's,
I'd be interested to know, since our last meeting, what's moved forward in your organization with your visits to the bank and your efforts to move forward and just in general information.
I can do that now. Yeah. And then as far as layout, so as far as the estimates go, there was option 1 and 2 of the 2 locations of the gym. I definitely have some concerns of the option that we quoted for the sake of getting cost estimates. Mark assured me they're going to be roughly the same between option 1 and 2.
I remember how you're going to have to explain what option 1
Yeah,
and
I was
option
just
2
going to
are.
say the public for sure. At least we've got pictures we can refer to on option 1, but no one else will know. So maybe like designate it like with the ice rink in the front or the ice rink in the rear.
Okay. So option 1 was the ice rink in the rear with the gym on the south side where the outdoor court is. And option 2 was with the gym on the north and directly west of the offices, I guess, basically. So, and I definitely had some concerns just with layout on that one. Not on the gym side. I think either one would function about equal on the gym, but with access to the ice rink, that there really is no access unless you walk all the way around behind the gym. So, or you entered through the aquatic center, which I don't think would be great just because our time that we're open is different. So anyway.
And then the other one we're getting cost estimates on is putting the gym where it was originally planned for and having the ice rink further west. That's the other option that's option 3.
Isn't there, at least in our
That's 3.
packet, there was 3
Yeah, that was number 3.
and number 2.
So 2,
In my conversations with y'all 2 weeks ago, you told me don't even get costs on number 1. that was
Correct.
putting the gym
Correct.
out where the sports courts are. Nobody was a fan of that. Nobody liked the way it looked and flowed.
Right. Yeah.
So we took that off the table.
Right.
So the other ones are ice rink where it is, gyms here,
Or
or
vice versa.
this way.
The other way.
Can you,
So 2 and 3.
yeah, so could you address, I think you need to speak frankly, Dallin, about what that would do and where you would go.
For option for both of them,
For
I
having the
guess.
ice rink moved from where it is. I mean, you've raised a lot of money and a lot of in-kind donations based on that conceptual spot and drawings and things. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to bring that up tonight or.
I could just give a quick update, and I don't have the full list in front of me. But as far you guys know, our goal was to bring the cost down a lot. So we had to go out and look for people that were willing to give discounts on materials or on their trade that they could do. So we've gone out and done that. We're probably in the neighborhood of $500,000 worth of pledges in that area with a few big ones still pending. So I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we could start digging that we were closer to 800,000 or $1 million in that area. In fact, just in the time between 2 o'clock when I met with the mayor and Paul and Ken, and now I had a concrete company just call me out of the blue and say they want to help. So it's just something, there's kind of some momentum. And as people hear, oh, this guy's helping. Well, if he's helping, I'm helping. And if they're helping, we're helping. So it actually is going really well. And on top of that, we do have an official offer from Zions Bank on some really big interest rate concessions for the financing too. So that was another big key in what we needed
But
to do.
conceptually, if they're flip-flopped, what would be the opposition to the people that have offered to donate and contribute and whatnot?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, if it's
Explain that.
flip-flopped, is the price goes up by over $1.5 million. So
Because, just so we know, because
so the footprint would be a bit bigger. There's 2.5 walls that are there now that aren't there. There's a lot more fill material that needs to be brought in to bring the site to being level. There's a pretty significant electrical service run that would need to be done for heavy duty 3-phase power.
Sure.
There's a 800 to 900 foot sewer run that would need to be done. So there's a lot of stuff that's really
no, but that's the kind
perfect
of
in
stuff
that
we need to look
location.
at.
Yeah, but theoretically, then are you saying without us having looked at the numbers to put the gym out on the front or on the west side?
Yeah. So to put the gym out
Then
there,
it would
was
go up by roughly those same things by what you're telling me.
They're pretty equal. Yeah. The gym was about 1.3 million and the ice rink was about 1.2 million. So, and yeah.
Okay.
So the gym doesn't have a lot of it doesn't need sewer. It doesn't need some of those things that the ice rink needs. And the footprint of the building was a bit smaller. So your excavation fill
Why wouldn't the
material.
gym needs sewer. Gonna have locker rooms and bathrooms.
Yeah. The whole reason that the gym wants to be attached to the aquatic center is so they don't need restrooms and
That's part of the
locker rooms.
argument is if we put the gym where it was programmed to go,
Yeah.
we can utilize the facilities we've already built.
Yeah, but whatever building goes out at the west is going to have sewer and
Well, if
water.
we do that and have bathrooms and locker rooms and all that, then those costs aren't figured into any of these numbers for the gyms. So if we move the gyms further west, the additional sewer, water, bathroom, all of that, none of that's figured into this.
So you're asking us to look at two options, but the financial summary only is based on one option.
Well, no. So the way both option 1 and 2, so the gym on the south or the gym on the west, they were both attached to the building. They're both drawn so they can be attached. And that was the big thing why it needed to be right there, is so you just walk through the doors and you've got access to the restrooms and the locker room. So it's attached so that you don't need those things. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So you walk through by the end of that reception desk and around and use the facilities.
It's just a short hallway. Basically, the best,
But why wouldn't that work for the ice rink?
because the ice rink wouldn't be attached.
But why couldn't the ice rink be attached?
Because you've got people walking in ice skates. So you can't, that's one of our biggest challenges right now, is keeping people off the concrete floor in their ice skates. Okay. Technically, I guess you could put rubber flooring in the entire aquatic center, but then you've got barefooted swimmers and sharp bladed ice skaters walking in the same restroom. So it doesn't work for ice skates, but it does work for a gym.
Okay. Okay, we'll do our due diligence.
Okay. Is this something that could be voted on next week? As far as,
Depends on what we find out over the
Depends on the
week.
information.
It's like,
I mean, it could be a yes, no. It could be a yes or a no, I guess.
Yeah, it could be, but
Okay.
it also could be when it's not ready and we've got to table it till another week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the two kind of ways if we get all the information, they could vote on it. If not, they'll table it until the next action
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
So those are kind of, just so you know, the kind of two possibilities.
Yeah. Okay.
right, and we'll start looking at what you sent, but we want the official information from the city. Apparently, there's some question on some of the information, and
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we do our due diligence on
Yeah.
actual information. So
Yeah. And just so you know, I didn't send you anything that's not factual. The
No.
only thing that maybe not be factual that's my own work was the highlighted yellow part. Everything else is
no, I wasn't inferring that at all,
exactly
that
from
one,
the
so.
spreadsheet. So,
But obviously, if they haven't sent it to us, they're not trying to
Mm-hmm.
delay it or withhold information.
Yeah.
It wasn't ready to
And
present it.
Dylan knows exactly what our
Yeah.
questions are.
Yeah.
So we're on
No,
the
and-
same page with that part.
yeah. And I appreciate the good meeting today. Good, honest meeting. So, yeah, I understand. I'm not asking you to make a decision that's a bad one or one that you don't have the information for. So,
Are you up against the gun schedule wise when you need to be open for the next season? Are you, where are
not
you at?
necessarily. I'll tell you
Okay.
our timeline too. This could be a preface, I guess, for us talking in the week. But so our timeline was, we really wanted to try and have a contract done within the month of July, a lease contract. So we don't have all the time in the world if we wanted to meet that. As soon as we have that contract worked out, we know that we agree on what we're doing. We're ready to engage the architect, start getting the construction plans made. We wanted to have all those plans done and approved by the end of the year. So just by the end of December, we wanted to have that done. So that's not an extremely aggressive timeline. So yeah, it's not going to kill us that we wait a week or a couple weeks to make sure everyone's good.
Great.
We wanted to start construction by the beginning of March, and assuming we can do that, then we could open October, November-ish.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we're looking at. So yeah, if you guys are okay with me just reaching out, and I'll give you a day or two to look at it, and then maybe we can.
Would you include the pros and cons of just list them like we've talked tonight, just so we know,
Sure. Yeah. And we can talk about them in person too. Sometimes it's easier. But
Right.
yeah. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Alan.
And hope you get some rest tonight.
Um,
6-member agenda items.
Yeah.
All related to.
Carter Wilkie, just one quick question that I have in regards to this. So the people that are willing to help out, the different vendors, are they willing to help out no matter which location it ends up, or only if you get the location where it currently sits?
I need to say my name again.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Forgot about that.
So I guess the best answer I can give you is I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. If we changed gears, it's really kind of back to the drawing board because it's way out of our budget. We'd have to go find $1.6 million in some other way. I'll just be very honest about that option. It's really not something I'm interested in doing. So yeah, I guess simple as that. I'm really not that interested in going back to the drawing board, trying to come up with that much more, trying to rearrange whatever our relationship might be from what we've kind of pushed forward with so far.
No, you're good.
I guess not to be stubborn or
making sure it's
or give an ultimatum, but it's a pretty significant personal burden. And if you step back without a real clear path forward, it's just hard to get the traction again, I guess, to really push for it. If the city wanted to make it their project and do it somewhere else, I would be probably interested in trying to help out, but probably not spearheading a project of doing it in a different way. So
Thank you.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay. Next.
Share these with some of our kind people out there that are sitting here.
I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do that.
No,
Get them
that's
away
what,
from me.
You've been waiting here for
there's
so
whole
many
blocks of them.
Okay. Item number 16, public hearing to consider revisions for the fiscal year 2018-19 budget.
You awake over there, Jason? Those are low cal, no sugar, no fat. Yeah.
You can start.
All right. Jason Norris from Finance.
Have you ever heard more enthusiasm in your life?
Really?
Oh my God.
I do like cookies. I think we ought to paint Ben Batty's face on the water tank.
There you
because
go.
I love cookies. Just saying.
I think you need one real quick.
And also, I enjoyed the exchange with a guy named Dude. So maybe I could be called Dude every time I present as well, because that was pretty good. So, all right, I'll really present now. That's why I don't talk too much. All right, so we are doing our final revision of the fiscal 19 budget. And we always try to capture everything that's kind of taken place in the second half of the fiscal year. We did the last one in January. We've had several council presented items that have been approved, and this is where we come in and make sure the budgets reflect everything that's taken place. So I tried to make a version of a summary sheet tonight. We'll see if that's a better procedure to go line item this way versus the all 30 or 40 pages.
Did we get that in our packet?
It came, yeah, we just
Oh.
finished that today. I gave you a copy up there.
Got a hard
Okay.
copy right there.
All right. Oh, whoops, I've got cookie on it now, so.
Yeah, it makes a good cookie napkin as
A
well.
big part of it is unreadable.
Yeah.
Just lick it.
So most of the items on here are just house cleaning items. Not very many of them are new things that we haven't discussed before. So just starting from the top in the administrative budget in the general fund, a while back we approved receipting funds on behalf of the Housing Authority and Turn Services. Since they're a small organization, grant rules don't allow them to directly receive federal funds, so they have to come through us. So that was 103,000 and 33,000. Capital equipment was in a prior revision. You see those reflected there. In the police, they had a youth alcohol grant, and they used most of that on the payroll side with police shifts. We've budgeted the remainder of their overtime reimbursement and miscellaneous reimbursement and put that back in their primarily in their payroll line items. So that makes a whole bunch of changes, but that is basically what is reflected there. The fire department, they receipted the remainder of their miscellaneous reimbursement as well from going out on federal firefighting. That's reflected primarily in their payroll. And then they also received $11,000 on a hazmat grant. They had to pull some of their prior year fire miscellaneous reimbursement from the fund balance in the capital improvement fund as part of their $448,000 for their fire truck, but you don't see that reflected here. It's in the main transfer. In animal control, we
increased the animal pound fees, $2,370, and put it in their public safety supplies. They do micro chips and neutering and spaying of the animals. Streets had, you'll recall, the state was going to participate in their bridge over by the gravel pits. That was $25,000. That's in their reimbursement for the state's participation in that. City engineer, procedurally, we've changed it so that we've kind of outsourced some subdivision plat checking. So we've just budgeted those fees that we've charged and put those back in professional and technical services for the engineering offices that we've contracted with to do that work. There were some minor miscellaneous reimbursements in parks, and then there's a large increase in the capital outlay for land, and that is for the acquisition of the railroad property down there by Coal Creek. Leisure services, we had participation on the master plan for the soccer complex. So you see that in their private grant, as well as, I believe, no, Cross Hollows is further down. So that was that one. The library, they were awarded their DCC grant, which they generally get every year, and then they had a small private grant for $750. Cross Hollows, we had the group that split the cost of the bleachers down there. Was that Iron Rangers? Is that right? Southwest, whoever that was. So their $15,000 is now budgeted. We talked about that previously. And then we have a big jumble of transfers and receipts there.
Can I ask one question, Jason, on
yes.
the Cross Hollows? Isn't there also, there was revenue coming in from that commercial driving school or something like that, that probably wasn't originally reflected, but is that?
We didn't budget for it because Larry didn't ask to spend it, but it, yeah, we did receipt it.
We did receipt it though.
Yeah, unless the department needs to spend it, if we come in over on revenues or miscellaneous or whatever, we don't usually try to balance all that out unless we really just want authorization to spend it because you've not given them that at that point. Right. So that's not reflected. And Iron County, $35,000 was the county's share in the Heritage Center there for the roof. And the sale of fixed assets was the sale of the Veterans Cemetery. So we budgeted that in there. And in the capital improvement fund at the very bottom, we may or may not transfer $3 million. We'll see how the year shakes out, and I'll do a year-end transfer, and that's what we will fund capital expenditures and future budgets with. So we'll see exactly where all our budgets net out. And that's the general fund. Is everyone still awake?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. So the Aquatic Center, they've had quite a few maintenance issues this year. So this will be new money to cover the expenses for building and ground maintenance of $15,000. It'll come out of their fund balance. They've had the pool liner. They've had quite a few things, which we have when we're in the pool business. So cats, no changes. Or the airport from last time. So that brings us down to, all these are prior revisions from earlier in the year, until we get all the way down to the redevelopment agency, which is Fund 57 on page 1-4. So this year there was some more tax value property out in Port 15. We had budgeted $215,000 because that's typically what comes in, but apparently there's some expansion out there in Port 15. So we collected $477,000, and the majority is well, all of that is distributed back to the developer for Port 15. And then the city, the school district, the housing group, they all get a distribution out of that. So that happened to just be quite a bit higher than it has been in the past. GenPAC also did an expansion with their incentive, and it was substantially more than it has been. So it went up 100,000, and then we also had on hand in prior year they didn't meet their incentive, so we've had everybody's funding on hand. We brought this up earlier, so we're going to distribute that back to the county and the school district and the Water Conservancy, because GenPAC in the past couple of years didn't meet that incentive. So that will also be paid out of the RDA. So those are a little quirky and unusual, but we are in charge of receipting and then managing that. So it's really just a pass through, but kind of a big variance in the RDA. And another change is in Fund 76, which is the Iron Garfield Task Force grant. Basically, we just have to do their accounting, and they had unrestricted funding that they made a capital purchase with for $24,950. As a council, I don't know that we actually direct their work or really can veto what they do, but we do have oversight in terms of I have to make sure that they're following their grant requirements on the federal and state side, and then their unrestricted funding, we have to make sure they're using it for task force purposes, but you get to approve the budget change. And then the very last one are the collection of the special improvement district funds. So as you're aware, there's several old SID payments that we've not received, but each SID has its own little account there. And over the last few years, as the assessments came in, I've just left them in those funds. The mayor and Paul asked me to transfer those to the capital improvement funds. So historically, when these bond payments, when we didn't bring in the SID assessments to make the bond payment, we had to transfer the city's money from the capital improvement fund to pay those debt payments to the banks. So now that we have receipted what is about $394,000, we're going to transfer that back into the capital improvement fund, and council can do with it what they please in the future. So
does this budget include all of the costs for the animal shelter, the grading and everything the city that Jeff's done? Have we got all that accounted for?
So there's
I just want it to reflect the true cost when we're done, just like we did with the water project at Western Rock or any of those things. I want it to show what it really cost.
Yeah, so the animal shelter, as you'll recall, the initial architecture we paid for with capital improvement funds, and we set up a construction fund for the shelter, which was a little more than $100,000. We also receipt all the donations in that little construction fund. So I haven't asked to budget those donations yet. They just sit there in that fund. So that's a cost that's not reflected, but also it hasn't been spent either.
Right.
Over in the MBA is where we did our financing for $1.6 million to do the construction, and we paid Grass Creek and whatever other fees we had out of the MBA. So 1.6 million's over there. The architecture and the donations are in the animal shelter fund. Fiscal 20, which we are working on now, there's another 30,000 for landscaping that will also go in that animal shelter fund separate. So yeah, we can combine all that, plus we could include the donations, but that could, I mean, we'll make a revision for that throughout next year. Ultimately, whenever the committee decides, I don't know what we're going to spend. I guess we have two options. One is to either alleviate our own costs for the animal shelter that the city's picked up, or we budget that towards whatever. I don't sit on the committee. I don't know what we've discussed to do with.
Well,
all
I'm
the
fine with that. I
donations.
just wanted to show, if Jeff
Yeah.
did $50,000 in landscaping and grading, I wanted to show it.
Yeah. So like I say, it's hard to see it in the budget because it's in two places, but yeah, we definitely can add the two funds together and go with it that way. And that is the revision.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I'm reading this correct on those SIDs, when we collected those, we're not collecting any interest on that?
There is interest as well. Yeah.
Okay, because it shows interest earning and I don't see anything and I don't know where that shows up then.
So that interest is internal interest. If we chose to allocate interest from while they sit in those funds, once we receipted them here, but the interest charge we charge against the property just comes in as part of the assessed.
Okay. All right.
I know
I
it's
just
a-
wanted to
it's
make
a good
sure we weren't
question.
granting
Yeah. No, we're
interest-free
not.
loans for
Yeah.
10, 12 years.
Yeah, so we have the option of allocating some of our own PTIF interest where all our funds are combined. We could assign some interest to those balances while they sit there, but
Okay, but when we
that's what that
collect
is.
them, we are
yeah,
accounting
we've-
for interest
Yeah, so we've been
expense to
charging the
them.
interest and have
Okay.
not waived that at
All
this
right.
point. Wendy has an update soon on where we're at with property ownership on the remaining
Good
SID folks who haven't paid, and then council will have to decide if they want Tyler to start to request that those property owners take care of that. So we'll have that in the future.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the, we can actually talk to this. Any other questions from the council?
Oh,
Okay.
thank you
then-
for that summary. That was very helpful.
Yes, that was very helpful. Sorry.
I was going to do a write-up,
There's
but
height of glory over here.
yeah, the write-up would have been like 40 pages. So I thought maybe we'll look at that next time. So.
All right, you get to move for a sec. Okay, we'll open the public hearing on the revisions to the fiscal year 18-19 budget. Is there anyone? That was super anticlimactic. All right,
You may have to take them out.
then we'll put this on our agenda for next time. Your turn again.
All right. Jason Norris with Finance, AKA Dude. No, it's not going to stick? Okay. So we haven't made any additional changes to the adopted tentative budget from last time. And so I think we'll just
Thank you.
hear from the public. So I'll go sit down.
All right, we will open the public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 18 or 2019-2020 budget. There's anyone? No? Okay, then we will close that public hearing, put that on our agenda, and
And we will move to adjourn this meeting, this work meeting, to be able to go into our RDA meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
there's
I
That's
will
my
second
motion.
that. I will second
all in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I think Ron's the chair of
Yeah,
both
Ron's
the
the
RDA
chair
and
of
the
the
MBA.
next two. Who's the? Yeah, we're just trying to figure out who's the.
I'd make a motion that Craig be
Well,
the
why don't you,
chairperson of the
You
RDA.
just go do it. Can't you do it?
I'll second that.
Oh, well, thank you.
They're dropping like
Did we,
flies.
did we vote?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I know.
I'm abstaining on
I was
that.
just to say, any opposed?
So whenever Renan's ready,
And we're starting with the RDA.
yeah, we'll start with the RDA.
Thank you.
Back to back nights. Mary wasn't here last night, so I ran the planning commission.
Yeah,
Well, that was good practice for
I
tonight.
can't.
It
You're
was.
gonna take it. I'm gonna take
It was
it.
wonderful.
I knew that you were like practice
Neither one.
because you sit in on that all the time. So thank you for agreeing.
Oh, yeah, they got some over there.
So look at what you can say.
You ready? Okay, so having been appointed chair, we will convene and call to order our redevelopment agency meeting and begin immediately with our business agenda. And Jason Dude Norris will lead us.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. So I'm not going to walk back up there. So as mentioned previously, we've made some revision adjustments to the distribution of the Port 15 and the GenPack tax incentives, which we've collected for all entities, and we will be redistributing based on a higher property tax assessment collection and a prior year incentive that was not met, and we'll be distributing that back to the related entities who are part of the incentive.
Okay. Okay.
Did they not meet that, or did they just never ask for that?
I can't recall. I know they did not ask. I can't remember if it was because they didn't meet it or they just didn't meet the deadline to request it. Do you know, Paul?
It seems to me they didn't ask, so we don't know if
That's
they
kind
met
of
it
what
or
I'm
not.
remembering.
If the companies don't come back to us and
Yeah.
say, hey,
Yeah.
we met it, we have no idea.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Does do the members of the RDA have other questions? Then I will open the public hearing to consider revisions to the 2018-2019 fiscal year budget. Seeing that no one wants to say anything, we will move on. Okay, we'll close the
I'll
public
make a
hearing.
okay. I'll make a motion that we move
We have
out
the
of.
other item.
Oh, we have another.
We have another
Oh,
item.
yeah, that's right.
Don't-
That's
Don't
right.
steal my
Sorry.
thunder here.
Hey. Well, I thought since you were chairing, you were waiting for somebody to
No,
say it.
no. We can go to agenda item 2, and that will include a public hearing considering the adoption of the 2019-2020 budget.
No
Changes?
changes.
No changes. Then we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wanting to address that topic? No. We'll close the public hearing.
Now it's your turn.
Motion to move out of the RDA meeting. Do we go back into the?
We just completely adjourn RDA and
Okay.
and move into the MBA meeting.
Okay. That we adjourn this meeting and move into our MBA meeting.
I will second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Better jump in front of it.
I couldn't remember if we had to go back into city council or not.
So I just have to hear from Renan.
Lowry's been 40 minutes.
It's been a
Ryder?
marathon.
It has
Still want to run for this stuff?
my doctor would be appalled at my dinner tonight.
Just tell your wife, just so she knows.
I had chocolate and cookies.
She's cooking on
I
Wednesdays
had a
for
granola
herself.
bar, so like that at least helps a little bit.
That's
5.5 hours so far. I've been here
At
since
least
4.
had some milk.
All right, Craig, you're on.
Okay. We will call to order our municipal building authority meeting and go directly to our business agenda. First item will include a public hearing considering revisions to the 2018-2019 fiscal year budget for the MBA.
So at this point, we didn't have any adjustments to it. We just added it to the agenda in the event I forgot something or we need to make an adjustment. So we just added it to all 3 meetings. We didn't do any further revisions
No
from last
revisions.
time.
Okay.
Okay. Then we'll open the public hearing unless there are other comments. Okay. Anyone wanting to address this that's still here and awake?
Mike wants to, I think.
Okay. We'll close the public
No new
hearing.
fire trucks. Sorry.
No.
This week.
We'll close the public hearing and go to agenda item 2, considering adoption of the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget.
And same, we didn't make any changes to the tentative budget that was approved a week or 2 ago.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wanting to address this topic? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And
I
Oh,
was going to say something. No, I wasn't really. I wasn't really.
I
Sorry.
may have to just,
Slap me.
okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn city council for the night.
I would make a motion to adjourn city council after completing all of our due
What,
business
shall-
for the day.
I already did it.
You,
Oh,
I'll second it.
Sorry. I forget you're a member because
Yes,
this is your
she
chance.
This is her chance.
Yes.
So
All
did
right.
you second that?
No, Terry did.
Yeah,
Terry did.
Let's get it.
All in favor?
Aye.
No discussion, we're done.
Good heart. Brittany, you got to have a cookie here. You stuck out the whole thing. You deserve a treat.